Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Bottom, Season 5, Episode 10. I'm your host, Alejandro, and with me, the yang to my ying.
Joe LaRussa, Don Lionheart. Hey everybody, how's how you all doing today? Hope everyone's having a great Thursday, Friday, Saturday, whenever you listen to this one.
Yes, it's certainly been a week, but good to see you again, Joe. Like, I love always, like, we always have like a mini private podcast within a podcast before we always start recording. So
Yeah,
it's always so funny because we usually, when with Paul, I would just like, he would just go in and I would just hit record and have that conversation in the show. We
I
just
see.
always have to we always have to catch up kind of like in between, but good to see you.
You
And
too, you too.
speaking to you all like with a big back pain right now, so I'm like really hugging a pillow like that. You can't, well, here's a pillow. I'm hugging it like really like really
You gotta
really
get some
strong.
heat or ice or something for your back.
Yeah, I'm gonna do like some exercises later because I tend to happen that happens to me. I think it's something like within like some vertebrae that sometimes get like messed up, but then I have to do kind of like a
Yeah.
little cut. So
hmm
I'll be doing that. Like we started.
Chiropractor.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten that bad. Yeah, thankfully. But if it gets
Yeah.
bad, like that's where I'm going next.
Yeah, Jing
But
has some back problems too. She actually has these like heating patch things that she
ooh,
sticks on the back of her clothes, and they're like they also keep her warm because she's always cold, but they're
yeah,
they're really helpful. They
I
help her
have
back.
the cold version of those too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and those are in like in my freezer. But yeah, gonna see if we can power through more than usual because we don't have much to talk about this week, especially
No,
because of
slow
some.
week, slow week.
Yeah, it's definitely a slow week, all things considered. But before we get into that, this is just a reminder that this is the X Bottom Podcast. It's Cape's gaming podcast that posts every Fridays from 10 a.m. Central Time onwards, God willing, available in the YouTube channel Escape Gaming, as well as most audio services around the world. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. You can find links in the RSS feed at tinyurl.com/escapegaming. If you enjoy our show, give us a like and subscribe. So, why this week will be slightly shorter, especially because of what we've been playing, I can announce that I am playing and I'm reviewing Assassin's Creed Shadows. My review is gonna go live on,
Lucky ducky.
yes, it's gonna go live 5 days from our recording, 4 days from when this episode posts at noon on March 18th. So you'll be able to hear all about my thoughts both in video and written form whenever the 18th is, which I think it's a Wednesday. So it will be like the day. It'll be the day before
It's Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday? Okay. Oh, so
Tuesday
it's
the
actually
18th.
coming out on a Thursday. Interesting. So
Yep.
yeah, I know some games have experimented with those kind of like Thursday releases and all of that. But yeah, look forward to my thoughts in written form, and I'll be able to talk all about it next week with Paul, who's gonna rejoin us again, and while Joe here is gonna be like on vacation in Las Vegas.
Yes, sir.
So yeah,
You say written, but also video form, right? You're having a video
yeah,
review too.
yes, I said both written and video. You didn't hear me say video.
You didn't. You said it early, but you didn't. You said not the second time. You gotta
Yes.
keep promoting it. The video is
Yeah.
really the key thing there.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's already. I have captured 10 to 15 hours of footage now, so we're gonna like have to, and we have pretty strict embargo.
And this is your second pre big like
Of this year.
pre-embargo.
Of this year.
No, oh, I mean your in terms of games that you had early access to before the embargo, because I remember Star Wars Outlaws was your first one ever that you had big access to.
Yeah, this will be my fifth one that I've
Your
gotten like way before like embargo time. So it's
fifth one. It was
Outlaws,
Monster Hunter and Outlaws. What am I missing?
Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D.
That's not a big one.
It is a big one. So it's one of Square's biggest games,
Okay,
according
if
to
you
like,
want to
yeah,
call it that, fine. Go ahead.
yes.
What's the other one?
Eternal Strands.
Okay. You're stretching on the big definition here. If you're
Yes.
gonna call Eternal Strands big, then my
Yeah.
review of Aura ahead of time
Yeah.
was big too. Okay, you're
Yeah.
pushing it, buddy.
Yeah, so it would be like a one smaller one and then four big ones if you want to be like technical games that I've gotten really early because I usually get them on launch day. So yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, with Shadows, it would be like my third like pre with an embargo for this year, just the second biggest game. So
Yeah.
and then like after this, it'll be Expedition 33 in late April. Let's see if we can get that one early. Crossing fingers, but because I can't speak about Shadows, Joe, you and I have still played briefly Monster Hunter Wilds. You definitely have
Yeah.
played way more than me now at this point because I stopped at Hunter rank 34, I think, and I checked in recently that you're now at something. Maybe you climbed up to the 50s now since the last time I checked. So
I've not climbed into the 50s. I think I'm 43. I had set myself a goal earlier in the week of surpassing Alex's hunter rank, and I
mhm,
achieved that in like the one day that I had set that goal because the hunter ranks actually move really quick once you get past the
mhm.
early stages and do
Oh
the
yes,
story stuff. They
especially if
don't.
you're just hunting
Yeah.
monsters, you can like blast through those hunter ranks like really quickly.
Yeah, even not hunting monsters, even doing like the side quests and stuff, you can,
The yellow
they
ones,
give,
the yellow
yeah,
ones. Mhm.
I, I don't know, sure. Are they yellow? Okay, the
Yeah,
yellow
because there's
ones.
the optional ones that are like the blue quests that are just kind of like the rerunning of like some of the monsters. So there's a
Oh,
then there's the you're muted.
you're,
Yeah.
I'm not muted. I'm not talking. You're
Oh,
you're
okay.
you're just saying colors. I don't whatever colors they are. All
Oh,
the
that's
side
right.
quests,
I
all the side
forgot. Yeah,
quests give you HR XP. That's fine.
exactly. Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
point. And so
yeah.
you move hunter ranks
Yeah,
really
it's just that
quickly.
there's some side quests, the ones that the side quests of the people you talk with, instead of just the one that are on the list on Almas that says just optional ones. Those that you get from like speaking with like a towns member, those give like the
Yeah,
big
yeah.
hunter ranks. Those were the ones that I meant. I forgot that you're colorblind. I don't know what your colors show there.
Yeah, I don't know what the setting is for those ones
Yes.
either. Because so for the audience, we did a little test to compare because I have the Deuteranopia settings on because I do have a slight red-green color blindness, and I do find it to be helpful in certain games. And the wounds on monsters in Monster Hunter Wilds are like this
Glow.
pinkish color that
For
glow for me, and they're actually like a red color for the non-colorblind setting, which it would not stand out sufficiently to my eyes against the background
hmm
for
But
most
that's
things.
yeah,
So.
but that's kind of where I learned that your level of color blindness is not too extreme because when I showed
No,
you
no, it's
my
not.
screenshot, it was like,
Yeah.
oh, at least you were able to kind of identify it. You're
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
not too extreme. It's extreme enough to just be really,
I know.
really annoying
Yes.
most of the time when you're dealing with colors of things.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's still such a fascinating kind of like disability to have like when it comes to gaming because then like what if
so annoying.
like I remember it was in for Destiny 2 one of the raids I was hearing it was Jeff Gersman when he was playing he's colorblind and when he was doing that raid he was like on a mechanic to hit like a red color button like it was
Yep.
gonna glow and he couldn't see it because he was colorblind. It was like and there was like no option for color blindness because
Yeah.
that's gotten much more important with accessibility in later times. So it's like a
Yeah. It was an issue for me when I raided in World of Warcraft too. It was to the point where anytime I would switch guilds, which really wasn't that often. I was only in maybe 2 or 3 guilds over my decade plus of playing that game, but I would always have to like let the raid leader know that when marking things, you can't call out the color of it. You have to call out the symbol. You can't say blue, you have to say
mm,
moon. You
yeah.
can't say purple, you have to say square. That sort of thing for
Yeah,
the markers.
that's yeah, that's kind of where they got the kind of like the workaround for the people that can't quite see it.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, so I had that on in Monster Hunter, and oh, I do want to say one thing. I remember one of the earliest examples of a color blindness setting in a game that made me so happy and really endeared me to this developer, aside from the fact that they made one of my favorite games of all time, is CD Projekt Red had a
Mm-hmm.
color blindness setting in The Witcher 3,
Mm-hmm.
and it turned the stupidly hard to see Witcher sense into like this really bright bluey purpley thing that stood
Mm-hmm.
out so well against everything. I loved it. And of course, everything has a flaw. What was the flaw of this one? Every single time you restarted the game, you had to turn on the color blindness
Yeah.
setting because it auto went back to normal. I was like,
That's so wild that it wouldn't just stay on after you put it on.
yeah, I think they eventually fixed it because I think I remember reading a patch note that they said they fixed that, and I was like, I finished this game like a long time ago now, but thank you for
Mm-hmm.
fixing that problem. Yeah, so that setting was a godsend for me, a lifesaver, because there's so much Witcher sense in that game, and I could not for the life of me see the Witcher sense tracks against the
Mm.
background of anything
Oh
because
yeah,
the background goes so like
grayish.
muted in
Like it goes,
color.
yeah, it's kind of like goes monochrome.
Yeah, it goes like this monochrome, and it's a really dull red. It's not like a bright popping cherry red. It's like a really dull, blurry kind of red. And so for me, I always struggle to see it. And then they changed it. I put the color blind on. Boom. It was
Mm.
amazing. I could see everything. I loved it. So
Yeah.
shout out to CD Projekt Red and The Witcher 3, one of the greatest games of all time. Number 3 or 5 on my list, I think. Yeah, it's
Mm.
fantastic. So yeah, I've been playing a lot of Monster Hunter Wilds. I am in the 40s for my hunter rank now. I have finished the post-credits story. There is no
Mm-hmm.
story left for me to do.
Yeah. You completed all 6 chapters now at this point.
Yeah, all 6 chapters of the game are done. All that's left are some more of those optional quests that you indicated that you get from talking to people, the side quests, because they're called side quests in the quest menu, actually. Like, that's their proper name. And if you go into the mission info log, it calls them side quests. So I've got, I don't know, like maybe 10 of those. I have quite a few of those still because I've honestly just been focused on hunting the monsters that give me the weapons that I want. Like, I've just been playing the grind of get the gear that I'm looking for. And I have my first like level 8 rarity weapon in like the regular guild weapons that you just get from having ore, basically just from having ore and farming the ore around. I've got one of those, and yeah, I've got some pretty good swords. I play the dual blades still. I haven't really, I've done a little bit of the bow because the bow's been a little fun, but I have not put too much time into it because the dual blades just feel so good. It feels so good to like,
you don't have to think with
land.
the dual blades. That's so funny.
It's, I mean, you say that, but you actually do have to think because the demon mode animation, the blade dance, you're locked into that. You will take major damage if you don't do that at the right time. And that's been a big thing to learn and get used to, is like, okay, how long is this animation? How quickly can I spam it? Do I have time to get out of the way? That sort of thing has been
and
really...
do the perfect dodge to get into that blue mode, which
yeah,
I don't know what
dodge.
And I don't know what color it is for you, but that kind of like extra.
I think it's blue. I think it's blue for me.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. I don't actually know what it does because nowhere in the game does it tell you what it's doing, but it looks like it's making you more powerful if I were to hazard a guess.
It just makes you way quicker. That's not the only thing.
Does it?
And that's already like the big thing about the dual blades is just being able to like quickly slash around. My thing is that I don't think I can ever move away from sword and shield at this point because I feel sword and shield gives me the speed of the dual blades with that ability to be able to block and parry at any point. And
I did notice how fast the sword and shield felt when I was practicing with it. Yeah,
and it's like, and it's even been more buffed because kind of like I mentioned last week that I've been like trying. I was comparing and contrasting World and Rise to like Wilds. Sword and Shield really got super buffed in Wilds compared to like the last 2 games. Almost too much that I see a lot of people are like having a tough time moving away from Sword and Shield, especially like later in the end game when you get some like the better swords with like the different percentage of the attributes or affliction, whatever that thing was called, and with the elementals, just like it just basically gives you anything you need to do to be more well-rounded. It still gives you enough speed to be able to dodge normally. It gives you that block, it gives you that kind of speed, and those combos that eventually then sends you up, that if you haven't done the thing where you grab the monsters yet in the middle of combat, instead of having to write the secret and jump in, that doubles as an ability for you to then jump on the monster after that combo. So a lot of people are like mastering that. I've been really curious about the insect glaive. I saw an insane video today of an insane parry that you can do with the insect glaive. Right,
it looks too crazy for me. I have played with it a little bit. I'm just like, this is too much. This is way too much.
It's just way too technical. It's next to Charge Blade, and I don't remember which was the other one that are like in that category of like, these are very technical weapons that you really have to always hone in on getting ready to do that technicality to be able to execute. It's kind of the same thing with like the Charge Blade, because Charge Blade technically has the speed of the sword and shield and even allows you to block. It's just that its combo moves are different, and after a while, like your blade just starts glowing, and then you have to kind of like do a charge that either charges the axe or the shield or like the actual
too complicated.
It's something that you have to always keep in your mind. The payoff of charging everything and then deliver the ultimate killing blow is super satisfying, but you also have to get kind of be like switching from this quick weapon slashing to the slow blunt of like the switch axe or like a great sword and things like that to then deliver kind of like that killing blow. And that's something that you have to be very intentional, because then if you're trying to deliver the big blows quickly, then that's where you get into like the typical Monster Hunter. I'm locked into this animation, and hopefully this low animation is gonna hit that monster. But it can be really satisfying. I still enjoy it, kind of like every once in a while see the monster I'm gonna face, I'm like, I feel I want to do something quickly with this one because he doesn't do too much. And that's what I love about how a lot of these weapons feel so well tuned, that it has given me a motivation to do more compared to the previous 2 Monster Hunter games that I was like, I'll just lock in to this one thing and I'm good. So
I like the speed of the dual blades and how I don't feel the whiff. You whiff really hard when you like, you whiff with dual blade for sure, but you're never whipping like, oh, I did all this and I charged up and then also like that.
Yeah, and it missed.
Yeah, and then and you don't have that issue. You still definitely, miss your attacks and
Exactly.
you just do your slice and dice and
It's
it
just
goes
that
all
you can
crazy and you don't
now.
hit anything. If like you're trying to hit a tail, but the tail is just too high out of the way and you're just maybe getting one or two hits, but
Mhm.
it's never I never feel as though that
You're wait.
feeling that you get,
Yeah, I'm like, I wasted that attack. Damn it! It's
Yeah.
like which happens with like the higher blunt your weapons. That was always
Yeah.
like my frustration with previous Monster Hunters.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't have that feeling. And that's one of the reasons I really love the dual blades when I play with them, and why I stuck with them for this one after playing them a lot in
War.
World. It's fun, and the bow and arrow is really cool
Yeah, the
as
bow.
well.
Yeah, the bow is way too OP. Even a lot of people are saying that another weapon that got overtuned is bow and arrow.
It's powerful for sure. I think I'm just not quite good with it yet, so it has not had the like impact to speed up my fights as much as other things have because I'm not quite as used to it.
Yeah,
But
it's a lot of the L2 circle. That's gonna do a lot of because I was looking at my damage numbers and it was like if one slash could be 13, what if an L2 circle of those is like giving me 10 of those slashes? So it's like it was giving me a lot of like the
yeah,
DPS output that I was like, holy
I
crap,
like
I
the
can do
L2
that.
circle triangle combo. I
Oh
like the
yes, the
dragon.
dragons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
So,
dragon strike. That one's really fun to do. I
mhm.
still don't fully understand what the L2 square tracer shot does. I've not quite figured that
So that's
out.
how you know how you can sometimes do like the L2R1 to kind of like then do the homing the homing shot that takes kind of
Yeah.
like the weak spots. That's a way to you to even though you don't have a bleed spot, you can kind of start marking a place that you want to like emphasize. That's so it
With that attack only with the
exactly.
L2 R1.
Yeah, L2 square, shoot them and then do L2 R1 and then it's gonna home in
Oh, okay.
into that spot. So
Oh,
and
so
I
that's like chop a tail. That's how you
mhm,
chop a tail off, or you break a specific part. Okay,
exactly. Yeah, if you want to do like a
that's good to know.
yes, I didn't know that first because I was the same thing. I was like, does this do like extra damage? And I was then when it hit me because I hit one of those and then I saw that I had a bleed spot and then I aimed and it targeted both the arrow that I shot with the square and the bleed spot. So it went on both. I was like, huh, okay, I see that. Now I see kind of like where the
Yeah, and you can have more
where
than
the
one
strategy
tracer
is.
arrow at a time
Uh-huh.
too.
Oh yes, and then when you do
Cool.
the
Okay.
L2, I think I don't remember what it was. It was like L2 triangle, the one that allows you to arc. That then
Yeah.
you kind of like aim, and if you aim at someone and it falls, it comes with a lot of those tracer ones. So you could do that one, and if a bunch of them hold, then do the L2R1 to then get in.
Okay.
Like
I'm gonna
what
play
does
with
it?
that more. I'm gonna play with
Mhm,
the bow and arrow a bit more. I don't really have any high level ones. I'll need to see what my materials are.
mhm,
I have like six. I basically added to my wish list all the trees so that I
mhm.
have one of every weapon type available. I have almost one of every element
Yeah,
type and affinity type.
and
I've not
then
made any artisan weapons. I've not made any artisan weapons yet
yeah, I did
because
my
I'm
first.
waiting.
Yeah, I did my first artisan weapon the last time I played, which was I did it for the charge blade, and I added blast as the elemental, and it worked so well at giving me that extra damage. And I
Yeah.
feel like if I want to do a charge blade, I want to like pair it with a blast.
Yeah, I'm waiting to get. I want to have all three be the one thing because I know that if you have all three, it gets its superpower. So whatever I can get three of first is what I'll do. I don't know what I'll have three of first, but that's
Mm-hmm.
my plan.
Yeah, so
So
but yeah, fun game. It's like yeah, it's so funny that early on when I was reviewing Shadows, I was still kind of like in that like mood of wanting to keep playing it, and then
yeah.
I'm locked into the review. So take that as much take that how you will.
Does
With
that mean
that,
you don't want to play Monster Hunter anymore, or are you just like I have to play Shadows?
whatever I could say could be used against me in the court of law, so I'll just I'll just plead the 25th or plead the 5th, whatever it was.
25th.
Yeah, I know the 25th amendment is a different one. Isn't that one for like removing or like a precedent or something? This is
We're not. No. Well,
yeah, we're not
leave
gonna
it
get
alone.
there.
We'll
Yeah.
leave it alone.
I'll look it up later. But Joe, you also been playing more of Kingdom Come Deliverance soon. Kind of what you were telling me before we started recording. You're really trying to like get as much before you go to Vegas in a few days.
Yeah, I'm trying to get as much of that done as possible for sure. Just because I also am going to be out of my current location for the month of April, most of the month of April, which means I'll have my PS5 to play things like Assassin's Creed and Expedition 33 and other console games that are out. but I won't be able to play Kingdom Come, so I'm trying to get as much of it done as I can. I have basically cleared the entirety of the map, the first map in the game. I don't know if I had done that by the time we were playing last week, talking last week, but by now like I've done everything. I don't have anything else to do in the game when I finished last night but go to the wedding. All I can do is go to the wedding. Like 50 hours in or whatever I am into that game, I can finally go to the wedding and see what that's all about, and then experience it from there. That'll be fun. Yeah, Steam says that I have 69 hours in the game.
Stop there.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. Like that's a good place
obviously
to end.
I save scum. I'm a save scummer. I don't have any shame in it. So my save is that number is not quite accurate, and obviously my save file is not quite accurate either. But it's somewhere between probably between 55 and 60 hours of actual playtime, and there are 65 hours of actual playtime. I love it. It's everything I wanted in a sequel, really. The only thing that I wish, and it's really just the nature of this team and their size and the budget that they're putting towards this, is I wish that there were more big locations. Like the map is huge, there's tons to do, but I feel like the cities themselves, they're so tiny. Like I wish that there were more Troskowitzes. Like Troskowitz is big, it's got a lot of stuff in it, but then you go over to Zhelyov and it's just a building. Like there's really not a lot in there. Or you go over to Samin and it's like, oh, the Lord of Samin, and I'm like, oh, it's a town. No, it's literally just stables and like his castle. Like I wish there were bigger city environments. And I know that Kuttenberg is here. I know that I'm gonna have Kuttenberg. I don't actually know, and you wouldn't know because you're not any farther than I am, Alex. I don't actually know how the map is, if it's just Kuttenberg. Like, is the second map just the city, or is it like an environment outside the city too with villages? I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't want to know. I'll find out when I get there. But like, that's what I wish, is that I wish there were more full towns instead of just like the tiny villages. That's the thing that this game does that actually, in a way, I feel like the first game might have done better, because in the first game you had Ratai, which was the huge city. That was the city. But then you also had Sasau, which was the place with the monastery and was another huge city. And then you had Talmberg, which was like the castle town, which really wasn't that big, but had a whole castle in it as well. Like there were at least three proper sized cities. And then Privoslavets, when you got the DLC and you rebuilt that town, that became a proper city. So I'm curious if they have more proper big cities in the game than just Kuttenberg.
Yeah. I think it's not a spoiler to say that there's like a second big map.
Yeah, right? The second map, that's what I was saying. I don't know if that second map is just Kuttenberg or if it's Kuttenberg and a surrounding area of Kuttenberg. I don't know. So we'll see. Yeah. I'll get there. My plan is, when we're done here, I'll probably play Monster Hunter tonight instead of Kingdom Come, just to get a little Monster Hunter in.
Yeah, right now I'm just trying to look at release calendar, like what's coming next and when I'm gonna try to slot this in, because I'm like, what I played, I still haven't played more than what I told you that I played, which is like within kind of like the first 2 or 3 hours, I feel like.
Yeah.
And even then, I still found it pretty impressive that I just had to deal with my other kind of pressing games, which were either reviews or kind of like things that were like of the moment, because I'm thinking at least I'm getting Shadows out of the way this week, which I kind of wish I had more time with that one, but I'll just leave it at that.
I mean, nothing stops you from playing more when you're done with the main story and the review. You can always do more. It's Assassin's Creed. They've already announced that there's, dozens of hours of extra content beyond the main story. So
that we're going to be season pass stuff that then they're going to give away for free, because of their whole...
I mean, even beyond that, like there's just the world itself that they've talked about and the side activities that you can go and do, because I know you're not going to 100% it.
Yeah. I need to see the trophies on that, because it's like things may have happened, let's just say. But and there was a really I'm hoping I got the screenshot of that trophy that I popped, because I laughed like so hard when it popped.
Oh, I don't want a spoiler if it's a funny trophy.
Yeah, and you'll know it whenever you get it. But I just laughed because it felt so me. It felt so proper me. But like,
I'm so excited.
I want to play.
Assassin's Creed
I want to play Split Fiction. Heard enough good things, so this weekend and remaster, I kind of want to try those. South of Midnight's coming soon. Expedition 33, that's gonna be like the next review. Indiana Jones is coming on PS5 somewhere in the middle of April, and I do want to replay that game and actually get a platinum on that one because I really like that one. And it's a collectathon, like it does hit that kind of like if you like collecting and it being an archaeologist game, it just fits so well of trying to like find everything.
Nope,
That
I don't like that. That doesn't appeal to me at all.
yeah, so I may do that one. I know the Days Gone remaster is happening. I don't care about that one right now. Then I know in May I have the Onimusha 2 remaster, the Lost Soul Aside game, and Elden Ring Night Rain. That's kind of there, and Doom, and Doom: The Dark Ages is like early in May too. So in June, I know I'm gonna talk about a game that just got announced that it's coming at the end of that month. So maybe that's when I hit like as I lead up to this game that's coming out on the 26th. That's probably where I hit on KCD2. And I'm not gonna like gobble. I'm not gonna do the 100% like completionist run of that one because I just kind of want to play it.
But you say that, but it's a really, really engrossing world. Like,
okay,
like,
so it's one of those that then you get so engrossed that you kind of just go down rabbit holes.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely beeline. Like, there's nothing that stops. Like, you once you get into the town and you find out about the wedding, like nothing stops you from just running straight to the blacksmith or the miller and saying, "Hey, let's do this. Let's get to the wedding and get me invited." But on the way there, you're gonna come across quests and towns and things. Like, there's just stuff that's gonna happen, and do you want to go and find a person that's missing right now, or do you want to go and help this? Like, what do you want to do? Yeah, so there are. It is a very enveloping world. It makes you want to explore things, even outside of our shared brain rot of clearing maps. It makes you want to do that because it's so fun to just like look around. And the cool thing for me is that by the time you go and do the main story, if you've properly played other things, you've started leveling up your stats and you can start passing skill checks more and like getting
combat and stealth and things like that.
Yeah, your combat gets easier, you get stronger, you get better gear, you get money, and honestly, like, I am at the point in it where I probably did so much that now people like someone was like, "You look like a mess," and I'm like, "I'm wearing like really nice gear right now. Excuse me, sir. Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
But
by the way, do you see that? By the way, Angry Joe just reviewed KCD2. He gave it a 10.
I didn't see that, but I don't blame him. It's amazing.
Yeah, and for reference, he gave Baelgard a 3.
Yeah.
So he's one of those, but I find it interesting that he really went that high on that one. But that's kind of like
because it really is special. It is a special game.
Yeah, that's why it feels that way. So.
Yeah, it's special. It's a special game. It really is. I honestly think that I'm slightly less impressed than a lot of other people are, simply because I already loved the first one, and I think that a lot of what they did in the first one, they just kind of made better in this second one, which is wonderful.
But so many people ignored. Yeah, you're not surprised.
Right, I'm not surprised. Yeah,
like
so many people ignored. Yeah. So many people ignored that first one that like they're going to be surprised at how great the second one is, and I think the only surprise I have is how not buggy it is, how not broken this game was, because the first game was awesome but was super broken, and this one just is not broken in that way. Although it is broken enough that I am regularly afraid that something is going to break. Like, I was just going around helping the gravedigger doing something, and he told me to get onto the cart so that he could like drive us to the next area,
and
he just kind of stood there for a couple seconds, and he like stretched his arms out, and then he like slowly walked over to the car. I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, because I just never know if something's going to be broken. And so far, it really is almost not broken. And most of the time, it has not broken on me, which is good, which is really good. Play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Buy it. It's amazing. It really deserves all of the love, and I have very much enjoyed it. But I'm looking forward to getting through the game at some point and moving on. I know you're playing Shadows. I'm really excited for Shadows. I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan. Assassin's Creed 2 is my 7th favorite game of all time. I really love that series. It is one of my platinum series, the ones that I like to platinum along with my Yakuza games. So for me, I'm super hyped to get there when the time comes. And then after Assassin's Creed, like, I don't really think I have too much coming up out until Expedition 33. I can't think of what I have between Expedition 33 and Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, because I know for sure you're not gonna do South of Midnight. So that's why I'm like, yeah, you could probably ride Shadows all the way till
that's my hope.
to
between a
Expedition
split between
33.
Shadows and continuing to play Monster Hunter for the next month and change until Expedition 33 comes out, which looks really good. And then after that, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what you do after Expedition 33. With kind of what's
well, when we
coming.
get to
Yeah,
a certain news item on here, I might
yeah.
have something else that takes up
Yes,
some
I know.
time.
Yes, and I'm kind of scared of that because I kind of want to play that too. But before we get into
Yes.
that, we also have a few other headlines. But let's just move into the headlines now.
Yeah.
So a quick one first. Split Fiction, the game that came out, was it last week? Yes, it came out last week. Crossed a massive milestone in just 48 hours of selling. I think it was 2 million copies, if I remember correctly, or
I
a
didn't actually
million.
see the headline, so I
Yeah,
don't
but
know the number. That's great.
yeah. So just to be sure, because I just kind of put what the headline was from VGC, but because I know that oh, it was like 2 million this week, and it was like a million in 48 hours. So I was like a much quicker, like it got there much quicker than It Takes Two. So obviously, like they reached that point where people know that these are the guys that made It Takes Two, so they had that cloud, and obviously
It Takes Two has something like 20 million sold or something ridiculous.
Exactly. So, and obviously that was propelled by a constant sales and its Game of the Year cloud that it got in 2021. So
I wonder how they count the PS Plus giveaway on the sales, because like I have it for free from PS Plus.
I know that
at no
so,
additional cost.
Funny enough, they gave the sales number before they gave it away for PS Plus recently. So
okay.
So they were very forthcoming of like, oh yeah, we have given this. So they're a massive success. I've heard really great things about this one. My sister's currently playing it, and I think I'm gonna, as a little break from, because I always need to cleanse the palate sometimes when I'm playing like very big games. I'm gonna try this one today with her later. Yeah, so I kind of want to see it, because obviously we have fellow people that have like played it and have said some choice words that I'm kind of like in that mode of like, where's the truth here?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, I need to kind of see, I need to kind of see it for myself. But I think unanimously, a lot of people are really impressed with Split Fiction, and it's selling really well. I feel what I love the most is the fact that we didn't know about this game until December, and then it came out 3 months later. It's the highest rated game so far this year, and that they're having this success. I think that bodes really well for people that know how to keep balance in their budgets. They keep like, they know what they're for.
Yeah, I mean, between Split Fiction and KCD2 as upper 80 low 90 games that obviously were well budgeted, there's something to be said for having a smart fiscal plan. Absolutely.
And I feel like, because I just mentioned that, I feel I want to move this headline first as kind of like as a follow-up to that, because as a example of that, of properly building your budget, Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, like it sold millions like really quickly, like in September, and now they announced that the third game is in development. So obviously with this one was that the first game came out in 2011, but this one didn't start production until like 2021, after a bunch of mergers and acquisitions and all of that, because Saber was doing this, and then they announced they wanted to do that, and they got it out in 3 years. This was like a big surprise hit, like in September. Obviously it wasn't a Helldivers massive like boom, but it was a boom like around that time, where people that kind of wanted just an old school, no frills, not pretentious third-person slasher/shooter, like in that Gears of War mold. And obviously like they had announced that they were going to keep supporting 2, but then they announced a third one, and that again goes to tell me is like they probably had the right expectations, the things that because I know it sold like around 2 or 3 million copies in that first month too, and I like hearing that, because like if we were like in your example of like ECD2, like it's selling its 2 million copies, us knowing that it cost 40 million to make, they were already in profit. They're already profiting like in the hand over fist.
What's really sad. What's really sad is the reason that some of these games like Warhammer and KCD2 can make money on this and have such low budgets is because they're in places that are just cheaper to live. They just have lower salaries, lower costs of living, and that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that, but it really, and I don't want to get too deep into a philosophical discussion about the way the economy functions on a podcast about video games like this, but there really is something to be said about the fact that we're selling games at the same price in America for games made outside of America, and so the non-American developers who inherently have lower wages are making bank essentially because they're getting $70 US from us, where you're having the Insomniac spending $300 million on Spider-Man 2,
Mhm.
also selling it for the same $70, and the threshold for success is just so much higher there. And like that's a bigger discussion than we can have here. And honestly, that may be a conversation to bring like Hogan to because
Yes.
of his economics background. But
Mhm.
just generally speaking, like it's hard to reconcile that. Like should the PlayOn and KCD2 developers be punished for being,
Mhm.
Eastern European devs and sell their game for less money? No, probably not, because they worked just as hard. The game is still just as valuable. But then what do you do on the other end? Then I
Mhm.
guess you have to figure out a way to lower the budgets of the other games. But how do you do that? Do you hire fewer people? Do you lower the salaries of the people in the West making the games? I don't know. It's a hard question to make or
Mhm.
to find an answer to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Just
and I
some
feel like,
thoughts.
and yeah, and then unfortunately, and it's so funny, kind of you mentioned that. What screws Insomniac right now is the fact that they're in California, and not only that, they're like in the LA area,
Yeah.
and that's just like a very in the Santa Monica area of all places. So that's a
Yep.
very, very, very expensive place to live, and they overhired a lot of people to try to get that game out, and on top of the licensing cost and like and paying salaries, it ballooned to a $300 million budget. That, funny enough, like I recently just went to reread again, just out of curiosity, just because I was having a conversation with. You remember Sebastian, the guy that was here when we had
Yeah,
the
of course.
uh, so
Mr. shares my exact thoughts on Dragon Age. How can I?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We're kind of having that, and it's so funny that in those leagues there was like a memo from Insomniac be like, "It's insane that this game costs us so much, and a lot of people are not gonna notice because and that was something that they really started to think about. It's like, is it really worth this cost when like it's not seen in the game? And that's the problem. It's like it's like I made a joke that it's like it shares the Yakuza problem that it reuses a bunch of like its old city visually it's not like a massive leap. And then
Right.
one game costs 90 million to make, to 2018 goated game, and now this 300 million disappointment. That it's like and that's like I feel like when people see that how much it costs, I feel it puts that game into context of like what a waste of money this is, but also a big problem of where licensing costs were, like what it means to develop a game in California. And funny enough, like it's funny you mentioned developing in different place. When I was reviewing Monster Hunter Wilds in my group, I had a guy named Ben. He's a designer over at Gunfire Games, the guys that made Remnant 2.
Remnant. Yeah.
Yeah, that game sold 2 million copies, and he told me that with that game they made profit and they're already ready to release their next project. And that really took. And he works from home from Georgia while the main team is in Texas. So that to me again showed me that maybe it's not just an American thing that's being punished. I feel like the ones that are really feeling the heat of like over budget is people are in damn California. Get out of there.
Yeah.
Just get out of there.
It really is remarkable that people still try to make those expensive places work. I don't know. I don't know why people still try to do that. I mean, freaking In-N-Out Burger is leaving California for
Yeah,
Tennessee.
Tennessee of all
Like,
places.
I mean, like, come on. And it's not a knock on California in general, because California is a beautiful state. It's just it's unreasonably expensive to live there, and it's no different than New York City. I
Mhm.
lived in New York City for years. It's ridiculous there. You'd like, and then the way that they throw restrictions on things, and my parents who are New York natives, that every time they go to the city, they complain like they lowered the speed limit to 25. They added bus lanes that no one's ever taken the buses on, and bike lanes. Like, what are they doing here? And I said, it's because they don't want people here. They
Mhm.
really don't want you to live in these places anymore. I don't know who they want here, but they don't want people to live
They
here.
just
And
want
it's,
businesses there. They don't want living.
yeah, they would much rather it just be businesses and transit like that, and that's all. Which, I mean, I guess fair enough, but then you're running into this situation with the Insomniacs that are spending $300 million, and the Santa Monica studios who, making God of War, are spending similar amounts of money.
Yeah,
Like, that is a
200. That was 200 for
yeah, like,
Ragnarok. So.
that is a problem that you're having by staying in these places. And unfortunately, you need to be fiscally responsible as the company and say, maybe we need to go someplace cheaper. And
Mhm.
even if it's still in California, maybe just move out to someplace that's not the
Yeah.
city as so expensive. And let people work from home. Cut your overhead. Overhead costs are the main cost of any business.
Yes.
My company is essentially completely remote, and we are
Mhm.
regularly reducing our footprint. We have gotten rid of every year since I've been at this company that I work for. We have shuttered offices because we just don't need the space.
Yeah.
And that's not to say we haven't had layoffs too. We have. Everyone's had layoffs, but we shutter offices because we don't want to have the overhead costs because there's no need for it because we just let everyone work from home. That's all you need to do. You can do that.
So yeah, there is a plus and a minus with that because it is something that I had a conversation with people that are like in different like lines of work, because video games are like a very creative endeavor too. A lot of creative people really do like strive more like in that group environment where you're like, kind of like next to each other, and it's why they instituted kind of like you can work from home like three times during the week, and then you come like to the office like two times to kind of like get into that flow. And
it would be, Alex, it would be 10 times cheaper to have the company fly the entire creative team to a single location every 3 months than it would be to have a single office building and force everyone to live nearby and come in 3 days a week. It is so expensive to have real estate. Real estate is outrageous. There are companies. WeWork is a perfect example. You rent an office for a day, you bring the whole team in from all over the country and have everyone have a jam session or whatever the kids say these days about creativity, and have them work it out, and then they go their separate ways and they have a rejuvenated feeling. There are alternatives to having the overhead cost of a building. Is in my opinion, I'm not the creative side of things. I do the legal stuff. But our teams are completely remote and they don't have any issues in their software development work, and they do get together as needed. You get together when you need to, and you can still save the overhead of having a 99-year lease on a building, which is actually something companies used to sign. I don't know if you know that, but companies would sign like 100-year leases.
Because they thought people were always gonna kind of be there,
exactly,
having people working. Yeah, it's complicated because I've heard it both. Yeah, it is. I've heard it both ways, because then I've heard like teams that were able to build their games completely like working from home, and that worked fine. Then others like were having trouble working from home because the process of trying to like get something changed in a game like just sometimes didn't work in their network environment, like from home, compared to like when they were like in a place like especially with like I remember the Avengers game from Crystal Dynamics. One of the biggest problems that game suffered was that during its live service period, it was still like when it was like at its most active was while they were working from home, and they completely missed all of their like planned update like dates because the work from home was like really hurting them. Because at that point I feel like if work from home to make games is gonna become bigger, I feel like network infrastructures have to like get better for that to like not be like an impossibility, like being like in the place.
Like all things, it takes practice. It takes a process in place. It's something that's new. And you know, how easy was it for anyone to switch over to using computers when they start using computers and move away from typewriters or handwritten notes? How hard was it to get people to start using research databases with all like a JSTOR or a LexisNexis instead of going to your local library? All of these things take time to adjust, and if you are too resistant to the process to adjust, you're gonna end up stagnating and causing problems with the ability of the industry to evolve and to figure out these ways to cut costs. But the industry and all these companies would rather cut their costs with AI and reducing headcount instead of reducing overhead costs. You know, like,
yeah. Oh yeah. It always kind of like they take the harder route to kind of get into like that cost efficient when there's like, if you kind of pursue it like the other way, like you could figure it out. And again, it's kind of why I said like, unfortunately the genie's out of the bottle. Like work from home like in a way like it was shown to become viable like during the pandemic, and you cannot shut that thing off anymore. But it definitely like they need to find that perfect middle to make the work that you can do from home like just be as efficient as it could be with that overhead. And then you cut that overhead and maybe that's how you lower the cost. But this kind of like a work in progress, because right now we're like in inflationary times where things are being adjusted on the fly. I feel it's gonna get rougher before it gets better. I will say that talking with Ben, the guy that I was telling you, is like they said that they have the core team, a small team in like this place in Gunfire, and then a lot of that team, the rest of the team, is like everywhere else. And that kind of hybrid style has really worked for them, because one, they found a place that's cheap to maintain, to have that core team there, and then you get a bunch of designers, QA, and all of that kind of like outsourced somewhere else. And that has worked well. That to the fact that they were able to like sell the 2 million, and that was enough for what they needed to just do their next project. So it's like, yeah, definitely work smart. Like the thing is definitely work smart, because I love seeing these kinds of successes. Like going back to the Warhammer 40k, like and obviously it goes to shine a light that how much healthier the industries over the other side of the pond are currently. That I feel like 2023 onward, the American side of development is the one that has shown the biggest problems. Like when it comes to the rising costs, the amount of layoffs that are happening, things like that. It's just it's clearly becoming a thing that the US has to sort out. But right now they got other things to sort out. So you're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Sorry about that. Yeah, a lot of things that they need to figure out in the industry for sure, and it'll take time, but we'll get there.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
Yeah, in the meantime, we got Japan just killing it like usual, and then like
and Eastern Europe now.
Yeah, in Eastern Europe is like emerging, so it's like there's places where you can get your games. So
yeah.
So and then speaking of Japanese, over on Sunday, Hideo Kojima released his latest Death Stranding 2 trailer, which confirmed a June 26, 2025 release date, a collector's edition, and a digital edition that comes with like a 2-day early access period. And also they announced a concert, like a global concert initiative they're going to be doing. So this is going to join like other games are doing like concert music. And I'll say like the Death Stranding 2, the Death Stranding music is amazing, and that's worthy of going to like a concert if you're able to go to that. This is coming way sooner than I was expecting. I thought this game was going to come in the fall because they had not said they had not said any like. This was at the good state of play from last year, the one that had all the games that you like to, and this had like this big long trailer, and they only say 2025, and then we didn't see it at the state of play that you didn't like the legendary exploding fish.
Yeah, the state of play.
State of play. That when that game didn't show up there, my thought was, I knew that
we weren't going to see it there because this had already been announced.
Exactly. So. That's why I was like, okay, I kind of let it go there because I knew that they were gonna do that panel, but I thought it was gonna be something more like, okay, this is gonna be like one of the bigger fall games. So wait it out until then, especially when then we didn't even see Jote, because I was at least would have expected Jote in that state of play, at least like a release date, since it's supposed to be this year. So this is way much sooner. So now I guess Jote is the game that's gonna go like face the fire of GTA. It's still like up out there, but people are making the joke that right now I feel people have waited enough. They have realized GTA is gonna land in the fall. We're getting all these release dates now, and bring them. I want my summer games, and this is gonna be a good one for me in the summer. This is gonna be one that I'm gonna be reviewing. I don't expect gold for this one, but it's gonna be like what you did with Dragon Age, that post. Post, yeah. I don't know if you saw that trailer, but that trailer was insanity. That's
I didn't. I don't really care. I don't have any interest in Death Stranding.
That's why that's what I said. Like I knew that I knew you didn't, but that's legit one of the craziest trailers I've ever seen. Like in a video
maybe I'll
game,
check
like,
it out
ever.
still.
So, it's very like. Love him or hate him, whenever he does the trailer, Hideo Kojima really like goes above and beyond, like what it does, like when it comes to cinematography, like the things that he like plays around with. Like when it comes to visuals, I think it's gonna be hard for this game to be topped graphically, like from what I see of this game. So that he really pushes Decima, like, and I know that what he pushed for Decima in Death Stranding 2019, they retroactively like picked it for Forbidden West, the Guerrilla guys, because they were helping him with the tech side. So I can't wait to see how he keeps evolving this. Like, this is going to be a good PS5 Pro showcase. And speaking of, with the next headline, I didn't really time it this way with the transitions, but yeah, something very similar to FSR 4 is coming to the PS5 Pro in 2026. So, to give a little context of this, the new NVIDIA GPU I think launches this week, or it's getting close to launching. It's gonna be like, it's a direct competitor to like what NVIDIA has been doing with their GTX series, and the graphics card that they are released, which is the 9700 T something, whatever it's called. It's like all these names.
9070 XT or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Whatever they're launching right now has blown people away, like legit blown people away. FSR was like their their equivalent of trying to do like an image upscaler using software upscaling, of getting like a lower resolution image and trying to blow it up. FSR, at least in console, was not working. Like you could see like a big example you could see was how Star Wars Outlaws looked at launch on a base PS4 and how that looks right now with the better version of PSSR, because that game also launched with the poor piss of the pisser in that one. But AMD announced that FSR4 is a result of their collaboration with Sony in the thing that they announced around the time of the launch of the PS5 Pro last year called Project Amethyst, which was Mark Cerny working with the AMD people to kind of like collaborate and seeing how they could like work together in like improving kind of like machine learning technology, and them wanting their next gen upscaler for AMD's GPUs to be more in the machine learning side instead of the software base, because software base was being lapped by NVIDIA's DLSS. And in test, a lot of people have been seeing that FSR4 is beating DLSS 3 right now. Obviously, DLSS 4, which is in the higher GPUs, is definitely performing super well right now, but that's like a $2,000 graphics card.
Right. Is DLSS 4, is that in the 50 series only?
Yes,
or is that the 40 series?
Yeah, it's in the 50 series. Okay. And I think there's a version of it in the 4090.
Yeah, I think they're gonna put I think they said that the DLSS 4 goes into the 40 series as well, but not the multi-frame generation is what they're doing, is what they said.
So it's like a version of that's gonna be like part of like the 40 series, but like in the 50 series you're getting all of that. But right now, obviously, the 50 series is like very controversial launch. Like they didn't launch right. Like
because they got rid of physics.
So that has been like problems. There's been problems with the GPUs melting and like their connectors and all that. It's like for all intents and purposes, like that was a massive fumble by NVIDIA. And AMD had not said anything at CES, and then they launched this thing, which even IGN reviewed and gave it a 10. Just so people get an idea like how impressive it is, because it's competing directly with the $800 version, the 5070, and it outperforms it. And apparently, like the FSR4 learnings they kind of learned through what Sony figured out in their own with PSSR. So now, like what Mark Cerny was saying when they announced that FSR4 was like a Sony like and AMD like really collab, like both get credit. Mark Cerny said that based also on that collaboration, a lot of what they have figured out with FSR4, they're gonna use those findings to improve PSSR next year. So it's like he said that he's figured out a way to make sure that a lot of that really impressive like new image upscaler can be like retroactively added to like the PS5 Pro. It's all because of machine learning. So the PS5 Pro already has like that hardware, they say, that they can retroactively kind of get those improvements. And already we're seeing that PSSR has been improving. It launched great in spots. It launched horribly in other games, and then got their faction. I played all the. This was funny. Like I waited to play certain games until I got my Pro last November, and all of those games I wanted to play had garbage PSSR implementation, and I hated it. I was like, man, it's like this is really bad luck, because I saw the good ones and games that already didn't really need it, but at least it looked better. But it was like I was waiting on those newer games that I was like holding off, and they had bad, but then eventually they got fixed. So they had been putting the work to improve it at least. But I'm excited to hearing that right now what's currently considered in the market like the best, one of the better image upscalers at a good price, we may be getting it next year. So, and already we're seeing improvements. So I feel this is a big win.
I agree. I think it's a huge win. I think that the PSSR is a really good idea, especially if it's done right. There is a layer of me as the half a PC gamer that I am that wishes they just threw everything in and just didn't even need the upscaling. Like I very rarely drop under 60 in KCD2 with no upscaling on my 4090, just because that's how beastly it is. Again, not in Gutenberg or anything yet, but like I very rarely drop under 60 because it's so powerful. And I kind of wish that consoles had that power as well, and that they weren't trying to do the upscaling thing. But because you have to keep these things reasonably priced and whatnot, I understand it. So it's really cool to hear that they're getting technology into a place that it is gonna help make this run better for people, because you don't want blurry looking things or ugly looking things. You know, you don't want your Vaseline smeared character models and things like that you get in performance mode sometimes. So that's cool, and I look forward to seeing how it goes. You know, I've got a nice TV and I've got the Pro and everything as well, so I like to take advantage of all that stuff. Like Monster Hunter looks gorgeous right now. Has some pop-in problems. I think it's a little ridiculous how the LOD pop-in is sometimes, but otherwise it's a very free game.
Yeah, it's insane, but like in the case of WoW's example, like me having reviewed that on the Series X and jumping into a Pro, the difference in that in visual quality between those two was obvious. It was very obvious. It's like it looked like Vaseline in the performance mode on the Series X and the base PS5. And it was worse in the beta. It got improved for the retail release, but the PS5 Pro, even though like if Digital Foundry even made like a review of it, it's saying that even the Monster Hunter World even doesn't even really use PSSR much. It uses more as a anti-aliasing, and that alone makes it like a massive leap between the both in the console experience. And obviously it could technically run better on PC, even though the PC version of that game launched with problems if you're not in the highest of high end, and even still had like annoyances like no G-Sync if you were trying to like keep everything looking smooth, like despite like the erratic frame rate that could give you. But to me, I think this is boding well. If FSR4 is already looking well like this, us knowing that these consoles are sticking with AMD, like there were talks that the PS6 was considering going to Intel for the next console, and then they were like, nah, we're sticking with AMD. If all this is kind of being put in place, then it means by the time we get to those consoles, then the cost is not going to be like prohibitively expensive to kind of get like the next visual leap. And that's kind of like that's the impasse we've been on right now. That yes, it's like graphics have gotten really good, but if we really want like the next big push, then it means it's gonna really cost us. And machine learning, kind of like even Mark Cerny said, is like they see it as a way to kind of like go the other way of like, okay, how can we keep like machine learning that gives you the experience of improvements without having to like put this much hardware to make it look like that much in the console experience. If you still want to go like high end in PC, you go there. If you have the money, that option is there. It's just to kind of keep that console like in that middle space of still affordable but still kind of pushing boundaries. If machine learning is getting there now, this bodes well for whenever you get PS6 in probably 3 years, if they could still go for like an 8 years. I know there's rumors that Xbox is going to go in 2027.
PlayStation usually done 7 years in the last two generations, at least. It was 7 between 3 and 4 and 7 between 4 and 5. So I would expect 27 personally, even though the Pro only just came out this year. I think that they don't care. I think that they know people will buy it if there's a big enough of an improvement.
I feel we have to get used to the idea that cross-gen is a thing, and that's never going to go away anymore because of cost and all that, because it's like at the end of the day, like they will want to sell more games. So I feel if the people invested on the Pro right now, I feel they could still get 3 or 4 years post PS6 launch. Like something out of that. So
they might get PS4 time the way that this stuff has been going. 5 years on, still getting the PS4 games.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, and I think that's just the problem of us moving into more PC architecture. Is like you get your games in your low end PCs and all that. There's like it straddles the line. So it's just kind of having to get used to not how the way things were before. And I know that sucks for some people, because I know I have some people that I talk to, sometimes one person that I know that listens to the show, like his big thing with the PS5 generation has been that because there was like a extended cross-gen period, to him it doesn't feel like in the Sony first party side there has been much. But it's like if you count it as the games, they still did release games like early in that generation, like and regardless of status. And I feel like even in the, do you get to hear the Colin Moriarty interview he did with Shuhei?
I did, yeah, I did.
Yeah, and even Shuhei mentions it, and we kind of mentioned that when he looked at volume of the things that have been released, it hasn't felt as that different in the same kind of like period of the PS4. And the big difference was the cross-gen. And then he said, like, I feel a lot of people just feel different of the idea that it's cross-gen, despite the fact that the games were there and they sold well and they still like reviewed really well at the end of the day. They have just not been native. I know right now the native ones that we're in that point where we're moving forward, it's looking really mighty thin. And I know that's a problem for like the rest of this gen, but from what has come, it's like I feel that's just gonna be the reality. That's where we go now. It's like if things are just gonna straddle generations.
Yeah.
And might as well like get used to that now instead of trying to live, because I feel like getting hung up on that idea, I feel is just gonna make you more miserable. I feel
you can be annoyed a little bit, I think, but the focus has to simply be on the fact that you're still getting a ton of great games, even if they're not exclusive, or even if they're not, next gen only. You're still getting all these awesome games, and you can think, oh, imagine how much better this would be. Fine, you can do that to yourself if you want to have that kind of thought process, or you can just play the really great games and be happy that you have a really great game.
Yeah.
That's really all it comes down to. It's a personal choice, of course.
Yeah, and I don't know if you feel this way too, Joe, but I feel like I feel I'm constantly inundated with great games to play. Like
I mean, I do. February alone, was crazy with games. I'm not caught up. I have Like a Dragon,
yeah,
Pirate Yachts in
that's
Hawaii
what, and here's what's so funny, like you feel that and you still hate so much that you don't even play. So
it's true. I do. My play taste is much narrower than yours is for sure. And I mean, what was out this month that was amazing?
Yes,
Avowed came out.
Yeah,
Split Fiction. Sorry, we're
technically
talking
last
February.
month.
What was
Yeah,
out that's right. Sorry,
we're
I meant
March
February.
Now.
Yeah. What was out in? I'm still playing the February games.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what was out in February that that came out? You had
KCD,
KCD2. You had Avowed. You had Like a Dragon, Pirate Yachts in Hawaii. You had Monster Hunter Wilds. That's 4 huge games in a single month.
And the people that played on PC, Civ 7.
Yeah, and Civ 7, yes. Yeah. I mean, everyone has Civ 7 technically. It's on everything, but yeah.
I heard concerning stuff about the console port of that one, but you want to be playing that. You want to be playing that one on PC.
But I mean, that's okay. So 5. That's 5 huge games. Most of those games are tens of hours, if not hundreds of hours, if you really think about the way that a Civ game, or so far Kingdom Come, is like, these games are huge, and unless you do nothing but play games for a living, like you have to literally play the games for a living, because I don't really do anything but play games and work, and I'm not near done with all the stuff that I need to play, because granted, I'm not going to play Pirate Yachts until I do Infinite Wealth, but even that aside, I didn't play Civ 7. When was I going to play Civ 7? Civ 7 went way to the wayside because I'd heard so many mixed things and it didn't look like it was what I wanted. But if it was more in the right direction, that would have been a game that I would have been really struggling to not play, to play these other amazing games. There's so many things. And then even during these slow times, there are always older games to go back to. I went through the entire Mafia series last year.
I know. Well, you talked very deeply about those every time they kept coming back to the show.
I was like, I went through the whole Mafia games. Like there are always things to play that are older, that are new. And if you're a weirdo, you can go to really old retro games, like all those weirdos do. It's not my thing, but I'm just joking around. But yeah, there's always the retro game scene for the people that haven't played those really old games. There's never a shortage of things to play. And I'm sorry if people complain that, there's nothing new to play. Well, then that's okay, because there are old things to play. I doubt you played everything. I doubt you played everything. It's just not possible.
And I feel like just looking at the stores and all that, there's always plenty of new stuff to play. Right now, I feel like the ones that are definitely suffering the most are the ones that are very overly reliant on the Sony, like in the PlayStation side, the Sony first party, because I have made the argument. I wanted to have this conversation with someone else. It's kind of like, I was actually talking with Sebastian doing his show before he had like a little bit of a problem. We couldn't do it. That were around the time that we learned of the cancellations of that God of War live service and the Sony Band project, and what else was left, and all the live service cancellations, like analyzing the PS5 generation. Is this the worst PlayStation generation ever? And all that, trying to present the fact, kind of like separating the feelings from the facts, and then analyze the facts, and then have kind of like the feelings kind of like cross. And to me, it's like I have come to realize of why I don't feel too concerned as much as the fact that, again, like you mentioned, I do have such a narrow taste that I feel like I'm always like in pursuit of something new or something interesting, and kind of like trying to widen my horizons. That I realize that while the first party is definitely lacking, especially now compared to like the first 2 or 3 years of this gen, like that hasn't really affected me in the slightest, like, because I feel I'm constantly like playing some really cool games and interesting games. In fact, this generation reminds me so much of PS2. The PS2 was like a generation where you could like play so many different games from different companies. I didn't fall in love with PS2 because of their Sony first party, even though they had God of War and Shadow of the Colossus. It was like those were 1 or 2 games that were like the massive library of games that I had. And I feel like that the PS5 just kind of has that energy. It just feels weird after you lived through PS3 that had to overly rely because PS3 had to rely on first party because they lost so many partners that used to do exclusives for them. They were like, PS3 is not selling, it's hard to develop, we're gonna go to the 362 because we need to make money.
I mean, you still you still had the games on the PS3. They just didn't have the exclusive relationships the same way. Yeah, because
Exactly.
I still played. I mean, I got a 360 eventually, but most of my playing was on the PS3 that
Exactly.
gen.
And
So
there was
yeah.
a disadvantage that if you were playing on PS3, more likely than not, you were playing the worst version. And the 360 at that point, it was the only generation where the Xbox really was like ahead and was kind of like the de facto console for many people. So it was like when PlayStation lost Final Fantasy to Xbox, like when Final Fantasy 13 like split, it was like, and a lot of people saw that as a big blow of like, well, there goes my reason to buy a PS3 because they had all these franchises that were associated. Devil May Cry was another one.
Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto, a big one, and they even made the whole thing. Oh yeah, it's launching simultaneously on Xbox, and guess what? Peter Moore lifting his I remember he had the tattoo of like the exclusive DLC for the Xbox. So it was like because of that, Sony had to like really lock in, and because it was much easier to make games there, they pumped out first party games like nobody's business, like so many, even ones that like for you like that are not being on Uncharted and all that. It's like that's why a lot of those first party games around that time became so big before it all culminated in The Last of Us. And then it definitely slowed down on the PS4 generation compared to PS3. I remember having this conversation with my brother. My brother kept saying this PS4 generation is such a massive disappointment. Like when he started like from, because it was like, man, I only got 2 Naughty Dog games when I got like 4 of them before. And it was like, we technically got 3 with Lost Legacy, but he was like, I was like, but it's not the same. That was like a DLC. He was being very technical. I was like, man, we got trilogies there, and now we only get like 1 or 2. So that conversation was happening back then.
That's true.
The big difference was Sony had E3. They kept showing a bunch of these games often. So it always reminded you of that. Now we're at a point where it's like, it feels like they have a similar cadence, but they don't talk. And that sucks. And I feel that's what sucks more, because then it's like
the not talking thing really is the worst part of all that, because when they do say something, you end up having an exploded fish state of play, you know?
Especially and right now, because when they talk, it's like they don't talk at the right time. I kind of like I was trying to make that argument. I don't remember my SG chat where I was having conversations like when people are like, oh yeah, the state of their exclusive like slate is like super dire, it's like super bad and all that. And then I looked at the things that were like in the slate and all that. It's like hypothetical. What if all these games were like in a showcase all together, not one and one, like spread out in state of plays? And I felt it was like, that's 7-8 exclusives. And like, do you really need more than that within a year? Like usually you get like 2 or 3. Eric, our buddy, made the point is like, it was like 3 first party games usually like on average in the PS4 generation. We used to get more in PS3, but that was there, and that was considered a big success. But somehow that doesn't feel that way now. But it's
I think a lot of it has to do with
the presentation.
The games, the presentation, the games that they're showing around them. They're doing, dinky little game, dinky little game, dinky little game, and then it's like, oh, the one big thing, and it's like, well, the one big thing, instead of being like, oh my goodness, what an amazing show, they showed the one big thing, it's, oh, thank goodness they showed the one big thing, it saved the show from being terrible. It's and that's, when you have your shows like the E3 of Dreams of 2015, where you have the bangers one after the other, that's really impactful. And then they don't speak the rest of the year, and that's cool. Like, they don't say anything else. Like, the state of play,
better. That was
I think the state of play has actually harmed the perception of them, because they're showing the dinky little things. And maybe it's good. Maybe it's good for the game developers who are making the dinky little games. But
and the thing is that I disagree with the idea of calling it dinky, because then that's like,
I know,
but it's more, I feel what definitely hurt them for them was the fact that they didn't commit to what they wanted, because remember, State of Play was 2019. That's when it started, because that's when they bought out of E3, and they did State of Plays. People didn't have any expectations for that, and every State of Play always had like a big moment within. And I was like, okay, that was
the first State of Play was that December of 2019.
No, the first one was March 2019, and it was for Days Gone, and it had a bunch of
third party games. The second one was right. The second one was that December. That was December or November.
No, so the first 2019 there were 4 State of Plays. There was the March one. There was the late May one leading into E3, because they were not going to be 83.
Which one had the Final Fantasy one?
The May one, because they that State of Play ended with finally showing gameplay of Final Fantasy VII with a teaser. Look for us at the E3 Square conference when they did the big blowout, but it ended with Final Fantasy VII Remake. Then they did the one in September that ended with the big Last of Us Part 2 big trailer reveal that released that then got the release date. And then the December one had both Ghost of Tsushima and the reveal of Resident Evil 3. So they had a lot of like big games within those, and they were not doing showcases. 2020 screwed everything up because then they did a showcase for the first thing they did, and that was in June because they didn't speak at all before that, and that was more like
I think the
E3.
showcase was August.
Yeah, it was no, that was the June. They did 2 showcases, June and September. So
which one? They showed the PS5 at the later one though. They didn't show the PS5 at the first one.
they did show at the PS5 right at the end of the June one. You can go look it up.
Are you sure it was June? I'm pretty sure it was like August.
I have it. There's a September one. You can go look at the date.
It may be in September, fine, but yeah,
yes.
Let's see.
No, yeah, because the September one gave the price.
That's right. The pricing. Yeah, the price
yes.
was. That's what I was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes.
And June.
That's
was
what I was saying because
yeah.
I remember listening to the podcast circuit and they were like, "We don't know anything about this console, and it's supposed to come out this year. We don't know anything about
it." Exactly, and
that's
what the second showcase like solidified because that one was what revealed. The second showcase was the Final Fantasy 16 one.
Yeah.
That's what started that showcase. Gave the gameplay for Miles Morales, Demon Souls, another the second of the million looks. We got a Deathloop and the Demon Souls gameplay, Fortnite coming into the system, and then ended with the Ragnarok tease at the end that said 2021, which was a complete effing lie.
Yeah.
But then after that was like the prize was revealed there. So they did 2 showcases, but then they did state of plays in between those, and those state of plays sucked because it was like, what? And I didn't tell you because then it's like, oh, now that you do showcases, state of play look worse now. And then they kept doing state of plays, and those were like, this could have been emails. There was like really nothing here besides
they were bad
in the showcases. So I feel that's what hurt them, like not committing to, oh yeah, we did a showcase in June, expect one of these every June. And then another June came in, nothing. We got the September 2021 one, the one that got Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. And then no showcase at all in 2022. That we learned was intentional because they were going to do a showcase that they canceled because they wanted to appear weak against the Activision Blizzard fiasco that was happening. We saw that in like the Discovery emails. And that's when I was like, I want Jim Ryan's head like served in the platter at this point, because like he like let he let the entire PlayStation fan base be so like get full of anxiety that there was nothing because they wanted to appear weak, so they didn't get the scoop. It was like that thing really made damage. And then we got that horrible showcase in 2023 after 2 years that felt worse because it was like they made us wait for it and you had nothing besides like showing us.
That was their live service showcase. That's really like
exactly. So it was like 4 first party announcements happened there, and it was like that's why I was like, I feel that is the problem. Is like they didn't commit to how they want to talk, and then I felt they wanted to make State of Play slightly better. They did 2 in a row that were good, September 2023 and the one in January, and then they had fines to like, to me I'm always like, yeah, that was fine. I haven't walked out of a State of Play like super hyped since the Death Stranding.
You never cleaned up an exploded fish.
Yeah. Good thing I don't have to do that, but I think that is the problem. I feel that's kind of like what the people like circling back all of this around to kind of like the people are like the ones that are like just journeying for a first party something. I feel that is the problem. I feel that's kind of like the issue. And the worst part, and I always keep saying and reiterating in our chats over there, is like Sony's doing so well that it's like, why would they change what they're doing? Because it's like the market is not responding negatively to what they're doing. They're being like confirmed, and that sucks.
They have no competition, so
so which that's why I'm hoping the Switch 2 gives them, like, makes them feel like there's competition there, like regardless of what it is. But circling and speaking of
I was gonna say, speaking of the Switch 2, you think we're gonna get Kingdom Come Deliverance on the Switch 2? Because Kingdom Come just got a massive update today. Huge
update of 1,000 fixes and mod support. That's like they made the joke that they put I saw a picture that they put kind of like a scroll on a scroll the amount of updates they have. I like, for a game that I know you're saying you're scared that it could break, but it's the thing that impressed me the most was how polished it felt for that kind of game.
And it's very impressive. Absolutely. I looked through some of the fixes on there earlier, and there's a lot. Like, there's a lot of cool things. A lot of it's like just visual improvements. A lot of it's fixing broken things. They did a lot of rebalancing. I'm curious. I've not played it. It came out today, but I was working before we started recording and everything, so I've not had a chance to play it. But I have it downloaded. It auto downloaded on my Steam here and everything. So I'm curious and excited to check it out. But a lot of their fixes are like rebalancing the value of things, and like somehow some of the perks work. Like I read through and I saw one that was like made it so that you can't spam the next to godliness perk, because there's a perk that you can get called next to godliness that anytime you wash yourself in a trough, it'll heal you like 10% of your health. And so you could be like almost dead and then just wash yourself in the trough over and over and over again, and you'd get your health back up for free, basically. and they like fixed that exploit or something. I don't know what they did to do that, but yeah. So there's a lot of changes. I am very excited to check them out. It's cool. It's cool to see that they're updating it. But they did the same thing with the first one. The first one, I started the first one, saw how broken it was, and then I waited like 3 months to play it until it was fixed on PC. I think I waited to like 1.3 before I actually dug in to the game on it. And this one I didn't need to do that because they actually released a pretty fixed and working game. And then the big highlight for people other than the mod support is there's now a barber and you can change how Henry looks.
Nice. I love that. So and that's kind of what I love also waiting playing this, because then eventually when I get here I'm gonna get a much better game than
even the actually funny thing, the barber was already in the game. Like there's a guy named Barber Fiala or whatever, and you actually fight him as a part of a side quest. He's a fighting tournament thing, and I guess he's the one that they actually like gave him barber stuff now, because he's in the town that the barber is supposed to be located. They just didn't have the ability to do any barbering, which is funny.
Yeah,
just a little feature that they cut, you know.
Keep making that game better. Like make one of this year's best games better, because then it's like, what would Bethesda do to compete, right?
And speaking of Bethesda,
so Oblivion remake, made in Unreal Engine 5, supposedly could be releasing sooner than you think. So kind of like what happened, was it today, and I saw it kind of being relayed by both Andy Robinson from BGC and also Jeff Grubb, that apparently like the Oblivion remake that wasn't at the Xbox Developer Direct, supposedly its reveal is coming really soon, and it's gonna be like a reveal, and it's gonna be available like very shortly. And apparently it says that's gonna be happening in April. When in April, I'll be very curious when, because it's like obviously this is an Xbox thing, so it's like they have two big things, especially for Game Pass, that for that same month, South of Midnight, and then their big third-party partner in Expedition 33. So I
wonder,
where are you going to slot this?
I wonder if there's an Elder Scrolls Online Direct announced today for April 10th. So I wonder if they will sneak it into the Elder Scrolls Online Direct. It's like Elder Scrolls Online Cross Kind of Funny. And it says, I'm looking at the announcement on the website here. It says, get ready for the 2025 ESO Direct live Thursday, April 10th at 2025 at 3 p.m. as Matt Freer and the team showcase the ESO's bright future. Learn about the changes as we share new things. We have big plans for ESO in 2025, so be sure to tune in. So, I mean, it may not be, because they don't talk about anything. Like, they're not even teasing it over here. But who knows? Like maybe they'll do something. And they're also having, it says, we're also thrilled to announce a collaboration with Kinda Funny on a new limited podcast series. So maybe it's there. Like this could be where they make that kind of announcement, because it is Elder Scrolls adjacent, even if it's not Elder Scrolls proper.
They love always having like if it's adjacent to a series, even if it's not announced, they usually tend to always try to throw a bone. So I can kind of see that too. So
yeah, it could be there. Who knows? But I love Oblivion. It is.
This is the one you love more than Skyrim, right? Like
I do love this more than Skyrim. It is on my list of favorite games of all time, as I said,
which you can go read over at
yes, you can read it on the SG website. Oblivion is my 1, 2, 3, 4,
I think it was 8,
5, 6. No, it is my 6th favorite game of all time.
Okay.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 5th. Sorry, it's my 5th favorite.
Fifth favorite. Okay.
Yeah, it's my 5th favorite.
Because Remake and one of the two Horizons are kind of beneath it, right?
It's Mass Effect right underneath it,
okay.
But Remake and Horizon is after that. Yeah, and Assassin's Creed 2. But anyway, I really love Oblivion. I think that it's such a much better setting than Skyrim. I was never a real big fan of Skyrim. I don't like Tundra. I don't really like the snowy tundra mountain feel. Like there are nice green areas in Skyrim, but it's so dreary. It reminds me of like a Fallout map, which is why I never played the Fallout games, because it feels so bland and gray. It kind of reminds me of Rochester, New York.
Yeah, you like color, basically, from what I've gathered.
Yeah, it reminds me of like where I'm living right now, where I temporarily reside in the winter, where it's gray all the time. Like there's really no
and that's why
sunlight.
I'm different. And that's why I'm different. I don't get snow here at all, so snowy features I like. And I feel like I can kind of say this because this was in the previous, when Shadow switches to snow, I have a smile on my face. All I'll say there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to learning about this. I'm so curious because it's an Unreal 5 engine remake, so that would be impressive because the reason that Bethesda uses the creation engine is because it can do the things that it needs to do. I've never seen Unreal 5 have like 1,000 movable items in a single house before.
you look at Avowed almost having none of that. And it's kind of like a game kind of like in that style, but without like the minutia manipulation.
Yeah, so I'm really curious just how they do it. If they manage to, I mean, if they did, Unreal 5 worked a miracle. Like they did something crazy here. I mean, maybe it was just like a coat of paint on Unreal 5, but I just can't imagine the back end working. Because you need, like, that's part of what makes it, like being able to pick up the bodies and drag them around and you know, pick up every little fork and spoon. Like that's a part of Elder Scrolls. And it's one of the reasons that I, you know, get really disappointed when I play the Elder Scrolls Online, is because it doesn't do that. You have like you can loot every so often. You can open up a tiny little bit of a lid and look inside of a thing, and it's just like cooking ingredients. Like that's all you're finding.
Yeah, from what I heard, is that apparently what Virtuous, which is the guys that are making this remake, which ironically they're also making the one from for Metal Gear, which we're gonna talk later, is that what they did is that they basically overimposed UE5 over creation. So it's like it still kind of has like a lot of the creation engines kind of like malleability of getting all the little details in. And then like the coat of paint is basically Unreal Engine 5. So it's maybe a product of trying to smash two engines into one. I've never heard of anyone doing that. Maybe I'm speaking crazy, or the person that I heard of this from like is fucking crazy, but maybe that's how they do it, kind of like as a kind of like overimposing over like a line of code. Because
the closest I can think to that is, I think Limited Run Games' Carbon engine operates kind of like that. That's how they're able to port those really old games to modern consoles so easily. The Carbon engine lets them do something similar to that. So maybe it's along that same line. I don't know the finer details of it, but in any event, I'm just really excited to see what they do. Like, there's so many levels of this that it could be like this low end, it's just a fresh coat of paint and they like tweak a little bit here and there, and then there's the high end where like maybe they actually put in the cut content, like Kvatch is really in it and they like finished the game and some stuff that was cut out. Like there's a whole scale of things. This would be like the coolest thing if they actually like added Kvatch back in, and like the whole arena that was supposed to be there, like that's just not in it.
I heard also from what I was reading that big combat overhaul, like how like how stamina works in this game was gonna be kind of like modified so that it's it's more. They say that they got inspired by how like the Souls games kind of like react with like how you use stamina and all that.
That's fine.
Which is like that's an improvement to how it was in Oblivion. Like when you really
and then the Magicka having like, I think they better add the Magicka as like as a refill, because it's basically not viable to cast spells without the auto refill magic.
Yeah, I'm excited to try it because here's also what's funny is like I have a save halfway through with Oblivion, because this has been a game that I've slowly chipped away at over the years, because I kind of been wanting to finally like really experience it. And and ironically, it was like when I started hearing about this remake, I was like, crap.
Yeah, I actually just a couple months ago, for fun, I loaded up on the PS Now Oblivion like thing just to see what that was like, because I never really used the PS Now feature, or not PS Now anymore, the PS Plus Premium, like the streaming of it, just to check it out. And it's like, it's Oblivion, like it's like that's what it is, and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I don't ever really want to play this again. Like I don't have any desire to play the original Oblivion, despite it being number 5 and how much I really love that game and how impactful it was. I never want to play that version again.
That's in your that's in your list more from history rather than like a game that you kind of want to like constantly.
Yeah, but I'm not a big replayer of games. Like that's like how valuable a game's replay is doesn't mean anything to me and how much I love it. If I love the game, I love the game, even though I will only ever have a finished Oblivion in that original form the one time. That's how much I loved that experience.
I love like to me, like just like how it's so funny how we have the different philosophies, because to me, like I consider like some of my favorites similar to like my favorite TV shows or movies. It's like if I love them so much, I'm gonna love like re-experiencing them like once in a while, once again, and all that, because I feel that like timelessness really like adds a lot to me of like something can be something can be great in the moment and then maybe it doesn't age well. There's some things that age splendidly. Like for example, Kingdom Hearts 2, like I know that's high up there for you. I feel that game gets better with age. Like legit. I feel Kingdom Hearts 2, like in its combat and all that, is like
I actually just bought the whole all-in-one collection
it was.
digitally
I saw
because
it wasn't
it was on
stale.
sale. Because Jing has never played any of them, and she's only really just starting to explore games. And
uh,
I was telling her maybe 2 weeks ago, I was like, I'd like you to play Kingdom Hearts games at some point. She's like, what are those? And I was like, oh, babe, they are basically responsible for my general personality and my outlook and positivity on life. Like,
uh,
and I stand by that. I genuinely think that the kind-hearted friendship and love and affection that Sora and the crew have just always espoused really impacted me as a child in development. I do think
mhm.
that had a very strong impact on my general upbeat and
Yeah.
positive, attitude. And I think
And
that it's cool.
even more exemplified in two because of Roxas, Axel, and that kind of like
Yep,
that organization they're
exactly,
going through.
exactly. So I bought
Uh,
that all in one collection. I'm really excited to have that, and I haven't. I've played them a bunch, but I haven't played them in a long time, and I've never replayed 3 yet.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm
I'm
glad
the,
I
I'm
have them
I'm
digitally.
the same way. I've only played three once. I have not done a second
3
run.
has problems. 3 has a
Mhm,
lot of weird problems. I want to go back and do a critical playthrough at some point because I
mhm.
always play the critical mode, or the hardest difficulty of them.
They updated so much probably since you, because you probably played it at launch and haven't
I
played it
did,
since,
yeah.
and they've added so much and changed so much that that's kind of why I want to like
I
experience
went
it.
back and did the Remind DLC, of course, but
Hmm.
outside of that, yeah, I didn't.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I bought that, so I'm excited to go
yeah,
and revisit some of those a little bit, even if it's just with her to watch, just to see her
yeah.
play. Yeah.
I like considering myself kind of like a historical like accountant of games in a way, kind of like because I love like I love analyzing the medium forward while also looking at back and how the past informs our present and all that, and
Hmm.
that helps ground me if something like in the present currently is kind of not hitting, and it reminds me of like if something in the past is not hitting that I know used to hit, is it just me or has it not aged or things like
Yeah.
that? So that's kind of like why I love that kind of like symmetry or what I consider like my favorites, because those that stand the test of time when I remember how much they impacted me before and how they can still impact me
Yeah.
now, and like that that plays heavily in like what I consider something that's like a favorite.
Yeah,
But
and that's fair. Everyone
everyone
has
has their
their
style. Everyone has their
Yeah,
style. Yeah.
everyone's got their own preferences. I like to go back and rewatch TV shows sometimes too. Like
Mhm.
I know How I Met Your Mother forwards and backwards. I've
Yeah.
seen that show so many times, or
What's a
things
slap
like
bet? Slap bet.
yeah, slap bet. Yep. We're running through Everybody Loves Raymond right now
uh,
because she's never seen it, and that's like number 2 for me of all time favorites. And I really wanted her to check it out. It's just like a
mhm.
thing to show her, and like that's what we were watching when we were running late on the recording, and we were gonna watch a show. We just watched an episode of Raymond, and
Yeah.
we're actually gonna see Brad Garrett, the guy who played the brother in
Mhm.
Vegas. He's got a comedy club there where he like hosts
Uh,
every so often.
oh,
So we're gonna go
really?
there. Yeah, so we're gonna go there on one of his hosting nights and see him perform a bit and see the other comics and
See if
whatnot
you
while
can get
we're
a picture and please send it, because that would be
yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
so cool.
So I love watching TV shows sometimes again, but there are some shows I don't really want to watch. Like as much as I think Mad Men is one of the greatest TV shows of all time,
Mhm.
I don't really want to go back and rewatch Mad Men that
Yeah.
much because there's so much to it. But then The West Wing, which I recently watched in like 2020 during
Uh-huh.
COVID, I watched The West Wing for the first time. I kind of want to watch that again because that's just how a show makes you feel and what kind of vibes the show gives. Like
Uh-huh.
Mad Men is not a happy show,
No,
but The
no.
West Wing is a pretty happy show, and so like I feel
Yeah,
like happy shows you can rewatch
the
easier.
idealism of the West Wing is
I
something that
love it.
it's
It's yeah,
desperately
so
wish
funny.
like we could see current
I know.
presidencies, but we're not gonna get into that. So
Yeah, it's
Oblivion,
so
because
good.
if we're talking about your favorites, let's see if this remake like rekindle something if you whenever you
It
try
might.
it,
We'll
if you
see.
have like, and I just hope that it's not too soon to like an Expedition 33 and all of that, because I hate when there's like kind of that overlap, because that
They're so different though.
yeah.
Like they're not even like
Yeah, but remember
they're not
one
even
of
remotely
review.
the same.
Exactly. Yeah, I know it has like differences, but kind of like when you have to prioritize like a long game,
Oh
sometimes
yeah,
you have to
yeah. If
pick.
you're just
Yeah.
talking priorities, yeah. I mean, I would prioritize Expedition personally. I would put the new game
Mm-hmm.
over the remake of the older game just because, but I would buy it immediately. Like it wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
be something I held off
Yeah.
on purchasing. I would buy it just like sometimes I just buy things even though I like to pre-order things. I get them ordered. Like just the other day they announced the Crusader Kings 3 Chapter 4. I
Mm-hmm.
love my Crusader Kings. I love my Crusader Kings. I pre-ordered the whole the week. This is the year. I pre-ordered the whole year. It's like $44. I get all the stuff when it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a question. I just like to have it ready to go, just to be ready for things. Because if I've got the money for it and I know I'm gonna want it, I'd rather just buy it and be ready. Like that's
Exactly.
my
So
my thought on it, and that's why I grabbed that. And that's really exciting. That's not on our news for the week, but
Mm-hmm.
that's really exciting too, that they've got chapter 4. They're adding, for
Mm-hmm.
anyone who's a Crusader Kings fan, they are adding Asia. They're adding China and Japan and
Mm-hmm.
Korea, and they've never had that in Crusader Kings before. And that's really exciting. And Jing's really excited about that too, because she
Sweet.
loves her
Yeah.
Crusader Kings. And obviously she is playing an equivalent of China right now in her current game, but it's not really China. It's just like the steppe region. So yeah, that's exciting.
Love it.
But
love
yeah,
it. But you'll be playing Oblivion probably in your Xbox Portable, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. I'm totally gonna buy the Xbox Portable.
Yeah. So this is our next headline. So Jess Gordon kind of did like a big kind of, I don't know if it will call it memo leak or something. It was like a big exclusive report for him. An expose that he really wanted to figure out like what Xbox's big plans for hardware were, because that obviously that's like a big concern over in the Xbox side, with them trying to like having their cake and eat it too, as like the biggest third-party publisher in the world, and probably throwing doing a handheld or just will hardware still exist, kind of like what Jess Gordon was telling us, that we're gonna see a little bit of an idea of what we're gonna be seeing from Xbox moving forward this year, which is that they're launching a partner device with Asus, the guys that made the ROG Ally. So think about it, that they will do another version of the ROG Ally. It's just going to be more Xbox themed. It's going to have kind of like
a ROG Xbox.
Yes. And the thing that a lot of people are disappointed with this one is the fact that it's still, the thing that people don't want is a Windows, more like a Windows device, because Windows is so buggy and it's not fully compatible with a lot of the Xbox OS that includes the original Xbox and the 360 games, and a bunch of the Xbox One games. So from like what Jess was telling is that this is kind of like an idea of like their strategy that they're going to do, similar to what they've done with Surface and what they do with like everything Microsoft does with hardware.
Yeah, they're just trying to Steam Deck. They're just doing like a Steam Deck style thing, or a Steam machine is really what I was thinking. The old, here's our operating system and our storefront, and put it, you go ahead and make a thing for it. And I don't think this has any real legs. Personally, I don't think it matters. I don't think who's gonna buy the Xbox Portable? The same people who bought the Xbox regular. That's what, it's the same people. There's no new audience for the Xbox. Unfortunately, there doesn't really seem to be a new audience for PlayStation either. It's the same people over and over. But at least for PlayStation, their audience is still big, and the Xbox audience is just tiny. It's just a tiny little audience, and they're the same dedicated people that have been there forever, and they'll buy anything that Xbox puts out, but I don't think they're gonna.
Yeah, for growth, this is not gonna.
Grow.
Yeah. The only way that to me this, like what this does, is probably be like a test run. It'd be like, well, can we just trying to make a more Xbox branded device instead of one that's like Windows device, and see kind of how that goes. Price is gonna be like a big determining factor. The ROG Ally itself is a very expensive device.
It's like $629 or something.
Like, so it's like not really appealing. And one of the big appeals of a portable, it's affordability. And it's the reason why the Steam Deck does find success, because it has kind of like that 349 model you can kind of get in, and you have the access to the Steam library, and then you kind of modulate it from there, putting it like.
Sorry, it's memory. 800. The ROG Ally X is 800.
See, exactly. So it's like, will this be the same price? This thing would be DOA. But the thing that was also interesting about hearing the report was that Jess also mentioned that this is kind of leading into the next phase of Xbox hardware, that is going to be like their next console, which is supposed to be 2027. They're saying it's going to be also again a two hardware approach. The only difference is that no more Series S. They're going to actually do a portable that would like take the place of a Series S, and then the console then just becomes the console. So that to me, like looking back, if that had been the strategy for 2020, that would have been better, because I feel like the existence of the Series S, great to have for people that want a game on the cheap and all that, but I feel that really diminished kind of like the importance, and really hit on the importance of the Series X.
Take a step back there. Think about this. The portable device in 2020, when you weren't going anywhere, maybe not the best idea at that time. That's I do agree that the Series S was probably a mistake, but I don't think a portable would have been the right call in 2020. That would have been like, I think it would have been a better idea to do Series X, normal, powerful console, and then once the world like reopened,
do the portable lab.
Then you can put the portable Series S out there. That would have been the better play in my idea. Obviously, they didn't know COVID was going to happen and all that, and they had all this lined up way in advance, but they could have just held off or I don't know.
Yeah, I know that one advantage that they do have now that they did the Series S and all that, and I know they're sticking to that thing for hell or high water for the rest of this generation, is that technically that gives them that does give them a leg up of knowing how to pare down a game that will work in a handheld. And I do feel like the pared back version that you can see, because as me as a former Series S owner that sold it up because I do have an X now, uh, I feel kind of like the ways that it pares itself down, if someone like sees in a portable, would be like the most impressive thing in the world, like all things considered, even beyond like a Steam Deck. And I feel that's a good way to kind of like hit that balance, because then that you're completely had the potential of completely separating two separate market niches. The people that love their handhelds get that, and you already kind of have the depth pipeline. You've already trained the depth pipeline and know how to like do things in a lower SAK, while still supporting and having the importance of having your big machine that's not that it's not like theoretically tethered like as obviously with the Series S, but because having those two consoles next to each other always kind of like put kind of like a stinky cloud over the Series X of knowing as like, man, this this machine has so much great hardware within it that we know it's not being taken care of, because
cost them Baldur's Gate 3, cost them Wolong, it's costing them games.
Yeah, so I feel like then like separating those two separate markets, even though there could be overlap for the people that are like, I want my machine, but I also kind of don't want to move it around. I'll take this on the go. There could be something like that, but I feel that was better than having the two separate consoles that just like you could literally connect the dots, and that really hurt that the Series X as a console in importance, because the Series S obviously with its price was always going to sell better, and that was always the thing that they kept doing the bundles with, not the Series X. Series X bundles were like the special editions, limited ones, like that Halo one they did for 2021 that never came back.
Almost bought that. I tried really hard to get that one. I had no interest in a Series X, but that console looked so cool.
Exactly. It's like I feel like they have not given the poor Series X like a good shining spot to it. That I feel like in this future, it's unfortunate that now we're in this era where Microsoft has basically thrown the towel and being like, if they want our console, we'll give it to them. At least we're gonna keep those people like that really have their investments with us. But it's like, I feel that would have worked better if they had just waited out. But again, they flew too close to the sun. They need to make that money. And I feel that new strategy now moving forward, now in a more open area, and now back when people are now out in the open again and seeing how big handhelds are, that would have been a good one for them to like strengthen their console by making it the console and then having that portable. We'll see if that happens, but as we see, it's like I've heard there's 30 million Xbox Series owners,
something like that. I think it's like 32.
Yeah, so it's like 32. So that's nothing to slouch at. It just looks really bad next to 75 million PS5s. Like, so it's like there's still people there. It's so unfortunate that I wish this generation had gone different for them. I wanted more. I didn't want it to feel like this. I wanted it to feel more like this. That's what people thought was gonna happen. But hey, if you want to get a taste of Xbox portables, you might a little bit later this year. Maybe. We'll see how that. Yeah, but to hear that it's Windows, I don't care. If it had been Xbox OS, I sort of would have. But
But speaking of 30, something turns 30 this year.
Yes. As iconic RPG Chrono Trigger turns 30, Square Enix promises commemorative projects that go beyond the world of the game over the next year to express our gratitude to everyone who has played Chrono Trigger so far. Please look forward to it. I love how Square Enix and please look forward to it. They're like, it's always like, remember, please be excited for E3.
It's got to be. I'm still, I'll always be perpetually early in my Japanese learning, I suppose. But it is a translation kind of thing, the way that the language operates, that you say a lot of pleases in Japanese, which is interesting.
So obviously Chrono Trigger, for those that grew up in that RPG era, that also included Final Fantasy VI and the Super Mario RPG, Chrono Trigger is considered for many like the greatest JRPG of all time. I know some people dispute that and be like, no, FF6 is better and things like that, but it's kind of like in that conversation. But it's also a game that it's so frustratingly hard to play in a modern that original Chrono Trigger is not widely available. The ways you can play that original Chrono Trigger is a horrible PS1 version that's on the PS3 store, and the PC version that is not too bad. It has a lot of loading, but you can play it like on Steam at the very least. But a lot of people have been like, just make it available, like for at least just have it there, because like it's such a storied RPG. This combination from the father of Final Fantasy and Akira Toriyama, rest in peace, that was such a wild collaboration, because it was like Akira Toriyama was doing Dragon Quest while Final Fantasy was kind of doing its thing, and then like Square courted at Akira Toriyama and be like, hey, what if we could do something for us? Since you were like at that point, Square and Enix were separate, and Dragon Quest was an Enix product. So it's like, what if you could do something for Square? As we're starting to figure out Final Fantasy, and they did Chrono Trigger, and it is so and it's so widely beloved, especially from the Akira Toriyama faithful. And to me, it's like, why I'm hearing, oh yeah, we're gonna go beyond the world of the game over the next year. I'm like,
movie.
So are you gonna do a movie? Or are you gonna do like a sequel game? Even though there technically is one with Chrono Cross that you can play on right now on modern hardware, and that's not very good. Like it's not even close to like what Chrono Trigger was for many people. But I feel the only thing that could really because I'm currently dealing with this with God of War, because right now they're like, Sony Santa Monica is playing the biggest, most cruel game of blue balls that I've ever seen today. Like in their do you see that? You saw the picture I posted, right?
I did see. Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah, over the next few days we're just gonna be like giving you fun facts as we lead into like the anniversary. I'm like, if you guys reach the day of the anniversary without an announcement of like a modern remaster or remake of those old games, a lot of people are gonna like flip out already. Like already people feel that way. And I feel a commemoration of like this kind of anniversaries, do a remaster or re-release that makes it available for people. That's the only way this works for the people that care. Obviously Joe won't care because it's pixel art, but like for the people that really like would be interested to hear, like for other people that hear all these times,
I'd be okay if they remade it, if they just like did a Final Fantasy VII style remake of Chrono Trigger, which if any game deserves a remake like that, Chrono Trigger probably is like the next
or at the
one.
very least make it a Dragon Quest 11 style and keep the Akira Toriyama art style that way, because Dragon Quest 11,
I mean you can that's really what I meant, is like just obviously you never get rid of the art style of it, but just make it into like, you know, a 3D modern looking kind of thing that won't make me cry. I don't have any experience with Chrono anything, Trigger Cross, the Radical Dreamers, whatever that was. That it wasn't that a, you know, that was a thing that came out. I don't know. I just have never gotten to that point. Like I don't know what I was playing in that time frame, because I was around for a lot of those things. I just was not playing JRPGs, which is, you know, that's just in America.
Since you were not gaming much in the Super Nintendo, you probably would have like missed this. Obviously is why you would have missed it, because it was in that early 90s. You were born in 92, 93 or 93, same as me. So it's like I was not also into JRPG. Like the first JRPG that I got into was Pokemon, and all these. So that's why, like, and that's the one where I was like hit when we were 4 or 5. So we were kind of like we were basically a fetus when they were making this game, and it hit and became a big thing. So that's why, like, this has always been one that I've always heard of, and until it's like made more widely available, it's like I was starting to look, because I know the Steam version was I heard that it was on sale for anyone that's like interested in here and at least playing it. It is currently, let me see, because I think it's in part of, it's $3 if you want to play it on Steam. I might cop it. Will I play it? I don't even know. I barely play on PC. Just to say that I own it in $3. But please, Square, just even if you could do like an HD 2D like you did Dragon Quest 3, which I liked, I would take that. I feel like if you don't want to make the bigger work of moving into 3D, HD 2D has proven a success for them, because it's like it gives an updated look while still kind of like keeping the spirit. So, and they're the ones that pioneered HD 2D. So why are they waiting? I know a lot of people are joking that Chrono Trigger is the break glass in case of emergency of series for them. The other one was Final Fantasy VII. So they already broke one. They still have one more like for that. So
it's funny that they have not done anything for this before, because I was looking at it, the Radical Dreamers edition of Chrono Cross is what they released just like 2 years ago or whatever. Like, so the sequel is available, but they're not the original.
Exactly, and the sequel is not as beloved. That's what's so funny. Like people, one would think that they would want to do like the more beloved game, but it's like it is really that kind of pantheon. Like a level game. So
I was looking this up the other day. Do you know what Chrono Cross is in Japanese?
What it is?
Chrono Crossu.
No way. Really?
It is Chrono Crossu. Just Chrono Cross.
That's
Chrono
awesome.
Crossu.
That's awesome.
They do that. A lot of, I mean, Final Fantasy is literally Final Fantasy. Like it is like they do just katakana a lot of their titles
Yeah.
in Square's catalog like that.
By the way,
it is literally just Kuro no Kurosu.
I just bought it.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was $3. so it's $3.74. So
But
at least
yeah, we'll see what they do.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do. I'm looking forward to just maybe getting a remake. I always, after 7 remake, I never put it past Square to do a proper remake of something, because we'll see, because it could happen again.
Yeah, and who knows? Like, and again, because I know there's people like you that just can't do pixel art.
No.
So it would behoove them too. So
Yeah. But,
and finally, our final headline, because we're talking about remakes. The team co-developing the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is opening a new studio in South Korea. So basically, Virtuos, the studio that is working on the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake and allegedly also working on the Oblivion remake. Apparently, like, people have found a lot of big importance of the work that they're doing, that they kind of want to expand beyond where they are, which is kind of like in Vietnam, if I'm not like, we can look it up. Like, yeah, look it up. That they just kind of want to tap into new emerging markets.
Singapore.
In Singapore, there you go. So they kind of like what I was reading with this one.
Founded in Shanghai, but they are headquartered in Singapore.
Gotcha. So apparently, like, they feel that South Korea, especially post Stellar Blade and the things that have been happening there, is kind of like an emerging market, and they kind of want to be able to tap into that energy. And I know that remakes are always good for new talent to kind of get their feet wet into like game development, and that's probably kind of why they want to expand maybe over there, because since they're already like on remake price, they're already taking on games that already are pre-established. This is how you kind of like train your talent to then eventually have them go work on like their new thing.
Yeah, so, their co-development is so weird. Like it's everything. Metal Gear Solid Delta, South Park Snow Day, Kill the Justice League, Outcast: A New Beginning, Modern Warfare 3, Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition. Like this is just all over the place. The kinds of things that they have co-developed.
They're a mercenary. So these are the kinds of studios you kind of need if you need to step up.
I would just love to know what they did for these co-developments. Like I'm so curious.
Yeah, I wonder the complete edition, maybe PC version, probably. But I know
it lists the platform. It says PC, PS5. So like they did stuff on all of these things. Like, interestingly, Hogwarts Legacy specifically lists PC, Xbox Series, Xbox One. Doesn't say they did anything for Hogwarts Legacy on PS5. Yeah. This is weird. This is weird. Very, very funny to look at.
Yeah, the very definition of a mercenary dev, of like, make yourself available for specific tasks. Where it's like, and I'm like,
I'm glad to see them expanding. Expansion is good for companies when they're successful.
Yeah, and what I'm seeing of the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is like, they're hitting that perfect sweet spot of like, it looks, the cinematography is like one-on-one what it was in the original, but they're updating it like for like modernly, like in a way that will appeal for the people who are looking for a game for this year, and also gameplay wise they're also kind of like adjusting it. If that's the work that they're being able to do, like, I feel like they're in good hands of trying to keep an essence of older stuff and moving it forward. If you can step up and get a lot of like that new talent from South Korea to get their feet wet, since we know that, like, to me, like, Stellar Blade was a pretty impressive first effort for a mobile first studio. We got the Crimson, what's the Crimson game that's coming later that is like, it looks
Crimson
like
Desert.
The Crimson Desert game.
Like, the Black Desert people. Yeah,
so it's like there is nascent talent there that you really want to tap.
Absolutely.
And I feel like the easiest way to kind of like transition that talent over is through a remake studio, like, literally. So get that in your resume, do it well, and then that's how you know like how to do stuff, and then move on to like the better things, especially around the very booming Eastern market that right now, as we have seen, that is like the healthiest, the healthiest of all markets currently, unless you're Square Enix, that apparently you only sold 3.5 million Final Fantasy 16 copies, which is, I hope they come in and clarify. Do you see that BS?
No.
Because this came from like a blog from like an investor or something, that apparently that game only sold 3.5 million copies, despite we learned that it sold 3 million in its first week. Are we to assume it only sold 500K in 2 years after that?
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Yeah, that sounds.
And it's also on PC now, right? So
exactly. So did people not buy it? We know some people buy. We saw concurrence there. Obviously, Reaper had more, but it's like, Square is like, I know they said they helped set the narratives for never being satisfied with anything.
Yep, they're the champions of that one.
Yeah. So, but everyone else seems like they're doing things right. I mean, look, you didn't see it. I got to briefly see it while I was like going back in. I saw the Silent Hill like stream that they're doing a new Silent Hill, is like they're all in on Silent Hill after selling 2 million copies of Silent Hill 2. I'm like, good. It's like good. We're like, good to know that there's people that are reasonable.
Yeah. Again, it's all about managing the costs and the expectations. And some developers are good at that, and publishers are good at that, and some are not good at that. And sometimes games do just fail. Like games can just fail. That is a thing that happens.
Or games don't fail. It just doesn't satisfy the greediness.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point. Sometimes a game just fails, and sometimes people just have the wrong expectations.
Yeah. And Square is exhibit A of always wrong expectations. So.
That's true.
And on that note, Joe, read us the release dates for the week of March 16th to March 22. Already halfway through March. That scares me.
I know.
to think about that. So
yeah. So we have coming out 33 Immortals on Xbox Series X and S and PC on March 18th. Early access for this game. I don't know if they have a full release date announced, but this is the early access release date. My Sims Cozy Bundle comes to PC also on March 8th. I have to remember to tell Jing about that. She may be interested. MLB The Show 25 comes to Switch, PS5, Xbox Series X and S on March 18th. This is not on Game Pass this time. This is the first year since 21, I think it is, that it is not on Game Pass. It's been on there the last 4 years, so you're going to have to shell out some actual dollars, Xbox fans, if you're going to play this game for once. Sorry.
They're going to prove now. They're going to prove now they're worthy of staying in that platform without Game Pass. So
we also have Rainbreaker coming to PC on March 18th. We have a game called Veer Balls coming to PC on March 18th as well. And then we have Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 Complete Edition coming to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S on March 20th. I think that's already on Switch.
I think so.
I think that Jing has that and has played it a little bit. And that's why she got into Stardew, because she got bored with that one pretty quick. Xenoblade Chronicles X a definitive edition is coming to Switch on March 20th. Apparently it's ginormous and massive, and like Gene Parks put 160 hours into it or something.
Yeah, he's been he's been like promoting the hell out of this game.
He's been going crazy on Twitter. That's a lifestyle game there, so if you're gonna play it, I'm kind of curious about it. I will not play it, I don't think, on Switch. I would rather wait until we maybe have a Switch 2 in the house.
Technically own it because I bought to get Donkey Kong earlier this year. I bought the voucher.
Oh, you did the split?
Yeah. So
gotcha.
So then I was like, because I was like, I know I was interested in Xenoblade, so I got it with Paul. So we got the voucher. I got Donkey Kong through that, and then I was like, then I'll just the other voucher for Xenoblade, and it's already there. So
there you go.
Yeah, I might check it out after I finish it, and I'll watch it. It's coming soon.
We have Wreckfest 2 coming to PC, also early access on March 20th. We have Assassin's Creed Shadows coming to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S on March 20th. Please be good. Please be good, game. Please sell well. Please save Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed is one of my favorite franchises.
Crap,
Please
I forgot to talk about that. I didn't put it in the news. The whole thing that apparently they're talking with EA and Microsoft to sell their
IPs. It's 2 rumors right now. I wouldn't say anything about it at the moment. Next up is Bleach, Rebirth of Souls coming to PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X and S on March 21st. Mudborn, which is coming to PC March 20th. I put that in the wrong order. Sorry about that. And then Atelier Yumiya, The Alchemist of Memories in the Envisioned Land comes to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on March 21st. I have never played any of the Atelier games, but
there's so many of them in the store.
There are a lot of them. I own the Mysterious trilogy because it went on sale I don't know, maybe a year ago, and it's been on my wish list for a while. And I always was interested in, just because the game looks so weird, but I just wanted to try it, and I just bought this trilogy collection because it's the whole mystery trilogy, and it's the first one in the series that doesn't have the time limit on you, because most of these games, if you don't know, Alex, have an overarching time limit where if you don't finish the game in time, like, you lose.
I've heard that. That's why I would kind of stayed away.
That's why I stayed away too, but the Mysterious trilogy, Mysterious Deluxe trilogy, or whatever I bought, does not have that, so that's why I bought that one. I don't really have any additional commentary on it. I'm curious about playing it sometime, but as I said, there's always a backlog to play.
I know, and Travis, I know is reviewing that one from what he said in one of the bits.
Oh, is he? Oh my goodness!
So I want to hear. I want to hear how he
has he played the other Atelier games before.
I think so. That's like for example, he suddenly became like the default, like de facto Xenoblade Chronicles like reviewer over there.
There are worse things to be the de facto reviewer of.
Exactly. So it's like I know he plays some JRPGs, so I wonder where that lands for him. So Yeah, and for this, obviously, like Shadows is like the one that everyone's looking at because that game, it has too much fanfare for good and ill. And I feel like if fanfare that's warranted and fanfare that is very unwarranted, that I feel like I can't wait to see where
You got to
things land.
stop talking.
Yeah, I can't wait for things land next week. But you'll hear my thoughts on Shadows soon, and I can't wait to see how I feel about Xenoblade Chronicles X, as I technically own it. So, you're gonna play MLB 20 show the show 25?
I have not bought one of those games. So I bought 23. I'm honestly just gonna wait for what Dan says about it. Dan Rodriguez says
Mm-hmm.
about it because I got the 24 for free on the PS Plus at no additional cost on for
Mm-hmm.
PS Plus. I bought 23 because he said that it was a good improvement over the prior years, and I hadn't played it in a while. So I just wait for his opinion on things before I buy
Yeah, he would
or
know.
don't
Yeah,
buy. Yeah,
yeah.
I played 19 and 20, and then I skipped 21 and 22, and then I bought 23 when it was on sale for like $20, and I skipped 24. So we'll
Mm-hmm.
see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I
I like to
haven't.
play. It's just fun to play sometimes. They just haven't done anything new. Even the differences between like 21 and 23 are not, or 20
Mhm.
and 23 are not like, oh my goodness, this is so much better. It feels
Yeah.
very similar, but we'll see. Maybe I'll
Yes.
get it at some point.
Yeah. To me, like the last one I played was 14. I didn't even play it when it was on Game Pass because I'm not much of a baseball guy, and
Yeah.
the only reason why I played 14 was because that was like early PS4 era where we were trying to just play anything, and I was a big fan of the bigs. The 2K, the 2K big game that
Yeah.
was like very arcadey. So I was
Uh-huh.
hoping MLB was gonna be that, and it wasn't. That, so I was like,
Yeah, one
never
of the
again.
things that they took away that I liked in that 19 to 20 was you could actually just continue your season. You could move your
Mhm.
character from 19 into 20 and just
Ooh.
keep going. But they stopped doing that in 21 and they like never brought it back. So,
They probably didn't see much heat mapping that people were
yeah.
using. That's kind of sucks
But
because that seems like an ideal way of keeping like
yeah.
moving you from game to game. Yeah, continue to see like have the
Yeah,
same characters you grew up with like in one season, then you just move it into like the next.
exactly. But
Uh,
oh well.
well, and with that, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of the X Button. It was so funny. I thought it was gonna be a shorter one, and then I went on rabbit holes because I love talking. So,
It's all right. That's what we're here for.
I know, but it's like I love when we can have conversations. I feel that
Yeah, me too, man.
that can be really fun. But Joe,
Yeah.
where can people find you?
You can find me at Twitter at Joseph_Law_Rusa. You can find my writing at Seasoned Gaming's website where I reviewed Avowed last month. I don't have anything in the works at the moment. We're always looking and getting new information about new things, but I will hopefully have something in the near future. You will not find me here next week. I will be out on vacation in Las Vegas for a week, so wish me luck at the craps table, everyone. I could really use it. We can all use it.
Don't
We've
go
got
broke.
tickets for shows and stuff too. We're
Yeah.
gonna see some good shows while we're out there and do some exploring. But yeah, that'll be good. So it'll be you and Paul like the old days.
An old
No,
school
I didn't say the
episode.
good old days.
I know.
Yeah, so that'll be good for you guys next week, and then I'll be back the week after. So that's me.
Sweet. And then you can find me at @A_Joe on Twitter, A_Segovia on Blue Sky, and my current written content at seasongaming.com, where you can read both my reviews for Eternal Strands, Monster Hunter Wilds, and pretty soon Assassin's Creed Shadows, and a couple editorials, including the Rebirth year retrospective, the PC tech review, and our combined favorite games of all time that Joe also has been constantly referenced in this week's episode. So you can go read that, and then enjoy the rest of this week, especially now that we're in daylight savings time. So because y'all lost an hour, I didn't. I stayed
Yeah,
put.
but we get more sun.
Yeah. Mine stays the same.
Yeah.
But I get earlier games now digitally. So like because before I would have to wait until 11 for it to unlock in preload. Now it unlocks at 10. So I'm in the spot. And then
that's it.
So yeah, play some games and
press X
to play. Hasta la vista, baby.